Why didn't it unmute me? Hello there, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Misery Corner. I can't even count how many times I've said this over the last few weeks. I don't even know. We're joined by Ian, of course. As you can see, Pice will join us soon. Damesh will join us a little bit later. Bro, Ian, help me out, because I don't think any of us expected not to lose today. I don't even think any of us expected to get a draw. And then you see it, and especially the first half, and you're 3-0 down in half an hour, and you're just like, how did we end up here? And then every time, I don't think it matters what team Frank puts out. I don't think we would have won no matter what he would have picked. But when I see what Mudryk does in 90 minutes, and then I see what Sterling does in 75 and has done in all of the last few games, I'm just like, how do you pick Sterling? And how many people, whether it's Lewis, whether it's other people that say, oh, Aubameyang, did you see him? This is why he doesn't play. Now, okay, he might not be fit, so I'll give him that excuse. That's totally fair. But why now? We tried it last time we played against Arsenal under Potter. He all of a sudden chucked Aubameyang in without using him much before and after. Didn't work. We do the same thing again. Didn't work. It's just like... midfield is a whole shit show, the whole lot of them. The first one presses, then there's a huge gap, then the second one follows, then there's another big gap, then the last one follows, there's another big gap. There's no concept to what we do. Like Frank said before the game that Joao Felix, he needs a proper number 9 to play the way he wants. I'm like, Frank, you don't have a way you want to play. And if you do, no one's aware of what it looks like. Ian, is it just resignation at this point? Is there any frustration still within you, or is it just honestly should we just ask to get our games, just forfeit the games? What happens when you do that? Don't you just lose 3-0? I know we only lost 3-1 today, but maybe that would be nicer for our souls than keep playing these games, man.
Yeah. Evening, everyone. It's a typical Chelsea show at the moment for where we are. Aubameyang starting was one that I just can't fathom. We can all say we looked better against Brentford in the second half when Aubameyang played, whenever he came on. And you were like, yeah, okay, I can see the logic in it. But what really irritates me, I understand the logic behind needing a proper number 9 to play the way that Lampard wants to play. I get it. But you have Fofana at the club. As much as the thing that really, there's a lot of problems, but just talking about Aubameyang here for a minute, I was really optimistic when he came in at the start of the season. I thought, wow, we're not going to get an elite goal scorer out of him, but he's a guy who clearly has got abilities and he'll want to try and get his way back into playing first team football. So if he's here for a year, 2 years, who cares? We're going to get able to get something out of him. It's a bit of depth. But now the way that he's gone about his business, the way that he's handled everything, it's been one of the worst moves Chelsea have ever made. And it just doesn't say a hell of a lot about the way that our football club is moving forward. If we have a youngster who has a genuine chance of, let's say, a chance of being a Chelsea player for years to come, right? In Fofana, and he can't even get a game. We played against.
Yeah, he can barely get a game for it on under 21s at this point. So I'm not sure if he's as good as we want him to be.
Of course, but the other thing is, we saw him play half a game of football against Southampton, and he got taken off, and we haven't seen him since. And I actually thought in that first half against Southampton, he was all right. Now, again, I'm not saying people saying he's not ready. He's not ready still and all that. He isn't. Of course, he's not. But I prefer him to try and get ready now, along with all these people that came off the bench and actually improved the game. And, let's try and think optimistically. We won the second half. We won 1-0. Hey, this is great.
I was going to get to that. We could just pretend the first 45 didn't happen. Just claim we won.
Exactly. But, that's the thing. The damage has already been done because the stupid lineups that are coming out. And I was talking to my dad just in there. The way that Chelsea are at the moment, it's a complete shambles, and we all need to accept that it is a complete shambles. And it genuinely would not surprise me if Frank Lampard has taken this job and the ownership have just turned around and gone, do you know what? Let's just get them all in the shop window. Let's just try and get people out the door and show these people what they can do. And, I look at someone like Sterling. Sterling, I want him gone in the summer. I thought it was a terrible signing when we got him. Typical, Man City have a history of it. Get a player in, get everything they can out of them, and then move them on. And the second they move on, they disappear. They fade and die. And Chelsea did it. Chelsea did it with Petr Cech to Arsenal. We've done it with people like William Gallas. There's been players down the years. That
William Louise,
Louise. That we've got rid of when the time is right.
Yeah.
And I thought this is a prime example of Manchester City doing it to us. And it's still the case. It's still the problem. Now, we go all out into Sterling is the whole issue for this whole season being terrible. But it's been bad business decisions. And I think, for me, where I sit, I'm frustrated about this game. Of course I am. But I'm also very realistic in the fact that Chelsea Football Club are just not good enough. Forget about ownership. Forget about Lampard or Potter or Tuchel or whoever you want to say for this season. For me, the squad being massive, being huge, having too many of the same type of players, having Bowley, who is new, completely understand that. Having Bowley that is new and that doesn't quite comprehend how to put a football team together, then having the constant changes of manager. I mean, what's the identity of Chelsea Football Club? We can talk about, sacking managers this and doing that. And, we've done it in the past. We need to get our, roots back in. And you've got to be able to fight. We need people to motivate these players. These players cannot be motivated. There is too much damage done as of right now to get every single one of these players firing and playing well for Chelsea Football Club. It's now just got to be about the future. And if your main objective is to put people in the shop window, which is potentially what I think is happening, obviously you'll never be able to prove that. Of course, you'll never be able to prove that. But the fact that that's even being spoken about just says everything you need to know. And I saw a thing a few weeks ago when Poch was, rumoured to be in, basically. And apparently we're like 3 players away from winning a league title or challenging for a league title. No, we're not. No, we are not. We are a hell of a long way from being able to do that. And it's fine as long as you accept that that's the problem and you need to rebuild properly. We've got some good players in to start this rebuild, but it's going to take time. Most importantly, you've got to get an identity. You've got to be able to have a constant at the club. Is it going to be players like Reece James? Is it going to be other players as well? I don't know, but I think for me, it starts with a long-term manager. And that's what Chelsea fans need to accept, that unfortunately, we are going to be a bit crap for a minute until we get a proper foundation set. And it will be with some of these players that have been brought in, hopefully not others.
No, exactly. And I think you've made some good points because, if they are in like trying to put them in the shop window, like you say, well, if anything, the last 3 weeks, what those have done is devalue every single one of them. So
exactly.
If that was the plan, that certainly has backfired. And
Sterling is currently worth 20 quid and whoever's willing to pay his wages.
Mate, exactly.
No, that's honestly the truth. That is it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, like, I can sit here and blame Lampard for his lineups, but I'm like, what the part I don't understand is, okay, he's constantly talking about how we need to fight, we need to try harder, we need to, work for it. But then he keeps playing players who either will leave or have achieved enough in their career that knowing these last few games of the season, we won't get relegated, they're not going to try as hard as they need to in this situation. That's why you need players like Madueke, like Mudryk, like Chukwuemeka. That's why those players need to be playing, not Sterling, not Kovacic, even though his assist today was wonderful. Like, it just defeats the point. Like, we're in such a bad situation. You have to take the tiniest positives you can from it. And the only positives is that there's basically no pressure, and you have signed no pressure in terms of everyone expects us to lose all the time anyway. So you might as well throw the 18, 19, 20-year-olds all in and give them a month, 2 months. Frank should have done it from the get-go, or at least after Madrid, the very latest, and just give them a chance to gain that experience. And by the time next season starts, be not much more experienced players, but have an important bit of experience under their belts of just playing a bit more regularly. But we're just not doing that. So it just feels like everything since Frank has turned up, we're just wasting time. Like, we're just wasting everything. And it's just that's the miserable part about it to me, because, we were pretty much all of the opinion by the end that Potter had to go. But man, when I compare what we've seen since Frank has turned up to what Potter did. Potter looks like flipping Pep Guardiola, personified in comparison, right? And it's just, it's painful. It's painful. I mean, like I say, second half, I mean, we could have been 5-0 down after 50 minutes, but, we won. So, and then we got a goal back. Of course, we didn't get more back, which was a bit disappointing, but it's frustrating. We scored a goal, so that's
breathe, relax, Loz.
Exactly.
We knew this was coming. You can't be surprised.
That's the point. I knew it was coming. It still annoys me. Guys, thank you for being here as well. Appreciate you very much. Where do you say? Obviously, me and Ian have just spoke a little bit for the last 10 minutes or whatever. We expected it. We saw it coming that we would lose. I don't think any of us expected a win, even a draw. But it still hurts when you see it play out in front of your eyes. Be 3-0 down at Arsenal in the space of half an hour. And like, we all love Frank, but I'm in a position where I'm like, if Frank wasn't Frank, I would be sat here screaming for the manager, even as an interim, to be sacked immediately. I think that probably the kit man would do a better job than Lampard is doing right now. I know it's difficult to blame him for everything, but what could he actually do worse? Like, it's a genuine question. Is there anything he could do worse? So it's like, Pice, hit me. What you feeling? Like, hey, we just spoke about it. Second half, if we ignore the first half of what happened, we won. So, that's something. Pice, you muted, I think. Sorry, bro.
Disappeared.
Can you hear me?
There you are. Yeah, can hear you now.
Yeah, I mean, the only positives for me today were probably Mudryk and maybe a little bit of Madueke, although I think some of his touches and stuff were quite bad. But I think those are the only two that I can kind of take away and I want to see play against Bournemouth. Obviously, Kovacic is just amazing, but he was terrible. And I think the problem for me is, like, I expect to lose to Arsenal, but I don't ever expect a lack of fight. That's what I don't expect. And to see that play out on the pitch, like, they just don't, when you sit there, like, and obviously when I'm in the stadium as well on home games, it just feels like they do not give a fuck. That's what it comes across like. And you never know from 1 to 11 when you, like, get into their minds, do they actually care or not? Are they, thinking about their holidays they've booked next month? We don't know that, but it comes across like that. And it's like the guys said at half time, Fabregas, Vieira, Hasselbank, it's like simple things like just getting across to people. It's not there. And those are the little things that cost us today. Like, the goals, Odegaard's second goal, I think, where Kovacic just kind of like slid across. Yeah, Enzo dummied it, which didn't help. But, just like, it's not like, you just want to go on there and like that clip ages ago where in the Serie A where Koulibaly pushed his man and like shoved him next to the player to go and press. That's what I want. That's what I feel like doing. I just want to like just come on, like get into him. Like there's no like fight or anything there, and that's the thing that annoys me the most.
Because we're not even playing like a proper shit team. When you played like even when they were struggling fighting relegation, whether it's Forest or Everton or Burnley or Sunderland a few years ago, these types of teams, they might have been awful, and they're probably still worse than we are right now. But they will kick you, they will fight, they will run, they will be dirty. We do none of that. We just play like Fabregas, like I have on screen, like 11 olives thrown on a plate. I'm not sure quite where you've turned your way, dug that analogy up from, but I guess it works. It literally is.
Nando's would charge you £8 for that, Loz. Nando's would charge you £8 for 11 olives on a plate. we spent 600 million on it.
See, there you go. What's good business here? I'd rather have 11 olives, even though I don't even like olives. And I'd still rather have 11
so would
olives.
I.
See?
At least we throw them at people.
Oh, my days. I mean, I'll get the lineup up on screen. Shall we just start with that? Because now, do I think it was as bad as maybe some other lineups over the last couple of weeks? Actually, no. But at the same time, yes. But I'm like, everybody knows Azpi can't be playing right back. So if you don't have Reece James, you have two options. You either play, a couple. Chalobah or Fofana at right back, or you play Loftus-Cheek at wing back. If you have to, Azpi at wing back. But most certainly, do not play Azpi at right back. And what happened? Well, every one of their goals was created from that side. I can't remember the third. Well, no, actually, every one of their goals was created from Azpi's side. Obviously, then it was, not helped that the people on the other side of the pitch couldn't defend the cross getting to any other Arsenal player. But Is this surprising? No, it isn't. Again, why is Sterling playing? Aubameyang, okay, like we looked better against Brentford in the second half, so I'm like, okay, I understand it. You tried, but then when you see in the second half, Havertz can win a header, Aubameyang cannot. The way we play defensively at the moment, you can't play out from the back. So our only way of not losing the ball very dangerously close to our goal is by playing a long ball. And if your striker will never win a header, then he's a bad striker in what you're trying to do. And Aubameyang he's been here since September. I don't think he's won a single header. And by that I don't mean chasing crosses. Crosses he might be okay. Like he's still a striker and finisher at heart. Even though I'm not sure, can't remember if he scored a header. But I'm not doubting him when like a cross comes in and he tries to get on the end of it. But when a long ball comes in, he's just not bothered to try and fight for that. First game when he turned up, remember he turned up with a broken jaw, right? So I let him gave him that excuse. No, Aubameyang can't play while his jaw is broken because he can't fight for headers. Well, it's now May and he still doesn't. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, against Brentford we look better in the second half. But why was that? Yeah, because Frank, you started Sterling up top in the first half. So yeah, we looked better with Aubameyang, but that's because of how bad it was in the first half. Not because Aubameyang's actually more useful than Havertz in how we need to play at the moment. This is. There's an expression in German which I can't perfectly translate, where basically one bad against the other bad. Like neither are good. But the way what we have to do, at least get someone that can win your header. It's just my days. It's just dreadful. But Pice, your thoughts on the lineup, on Aubameyang, on Havertz, on the midfield? Because when you look at that midfield, those three names, you're like, it's not bad midfield. But the way it plays, it's just like they don't even understand that they are playing in midfield. Like you see Kante run forward, and then Kante's all of a sudden here. Then there's a huge gap. Then Enzo follows up. Then Kovacic is here. But none of the defenders have followed up. And then Arsenal have 5 players in this area and 50 yards of space to do whatever the flip they want. And that happens basically every 5 minutes in the game. And I'm like, why do none of you understand how to play in midfield? I just don't get it.
Well, you're describing a manager with no tactics is what you're describing.
But even if the manager has no tactics, the players still understand how to play a game of football. When you go play football, you don't even have a manager. You know, if you just go play 5-a-side, there's no manager. And you still understand that you maybe shouldn't leave 50 yards of gap between the midfield and the defenders, because that never works.
Yeah, I mean, alternatively, they are being told to press high, and we're just getting caught on the transitions. I think that happened a lot tonight. But yeah, the lineup, I mean, Chalobah could have got cooked at right back, but I would have much preferred him to play there. I actually think we should have gone to 3-4-3, to be honest with you. I was a bit surprised with the 4-3-3, but yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to see Aubameyang and Madueke, but like when you look at the context as well, Aubameyang's last start was actually against Arsenal at home. I mean, how long ago was that? Like he's hardly kicked the ball, so I know Havertz couldn't necessarily start, so. Maybe
just not fit to start. I didn't actually know.
I don't think so, but maybe give what's his name a go. Yeah, why not? Like, why not? Honestly, like at this point, it's just like I want to see Lewis Hall. I thought Chilwell was just, I don't think he was very good tonight. I want to see Chukwuemeka on the bench instead of Gallagher. I rate Gallagher's intensity, and we actually probably do need a little bit of that right now in terms of like getting into players and actually showing a bit of fight, but. I think more so for me, I mean, one sub at half time after that half was just an absolute joke. I don't know how Sterling stayed on the pitch. Why he was even starting over Mudryk, I don't know. But, whatever. At least bring Mudryk on earlier. Take Sterling's first half performance, one of the worst first half performances I've ever seen. He was abysmal. I know these players can't play a 2-yard pass, but he literally fucked up about 4 attacks. I'm not even joking. Like that one where like he was down the side and he rolled rolled the player. I thought he did really well there. Yep. He drove on and he just gave the fucking ball away. I'm like, what the fuck? Like you've done the hard bit. And again, it does come down to lack of confidence, but it's also like there are players out there that do have confidence. Like how is Mudryk showing more confidence? Like he's not even playing. Like I don't understand. You see the difference when he comes on. He's actually. Like he was being booed, laser pen in his eye, and he still looks like.
Which is exactly the reason, because Arsenal were going to be right on him. Which is exactly why he had to start, in my opinion. Because I'm like, he's the only guy that's actually going to properly drive. Because you're not going to get booed and not bother, Because if you get booed as an individual, you're going to try to prove people wrong or tell them, screw you, like see what I can do, type thing. But not like you mentioned Mudryk compared to Sterling. Don't even just mention Mudryk. mention Madueke on the other side. Now, Madueke had some bad touches and some bad passes when we were close in our own third and trying to play out from the back. Is that all his fault, though? Because where can he play the ball to when he's basically turning into prime Willie and marking because Aspi can't defend on his own? So he was basically playing right wing back. But when you see every time he got the ball, he tried to move forward. Sterling, every time he got the ball, either passed it straight to the opponent, out of play, or turned around every time. And I'm like, you don't even care, right? Like, you do not even care. Like, it's frustrating. I mean, Ian, we touched on it already earlier, but when I've put it up on screen, like, was the formation the issue for you, or are you also at a point where it's like, at this point, as much as we can criticize individual decisions and individual players, really, whether Mudryk starts, whether Havertz starts, whether would it have changed anything, really? Even disregarding of the opponent, even against Forest, does it matter? Will they not all be shit?
I'd argue that Mudryk starting would have been more influential than Sterling. I generally think that would have been a better tactical move. I have to say that. Because Arsenal were always going to bring the game to you. They needed to bounce back after a horrible result against Man City. They had a 3-1 loss. Now they turned it into a 3-1 win. They clearly wanted to come out.
They hadn't won their last 4 games, by the way.
Yeah, they wanted to come out fighting. They were always going to be able to leave space in behind. And having someone like Mudryk, who is constantly going to go, is got to be a better option than Sterling, that every time he gets the ball, he passes backwards. And when he did pass the ball forward after doing that great turn where he spun the centre half, he then gives the ball away. It's mental. It really is. Also, as well, can you talk to your missus who's trying to currently burn me in the comment section? I can see, I am looking.
She's not a fan of you not being a fan of Jorginho, bro.
I tell you the reason I'm not a fan of Jorginho, and it sort of does tie in for today. Maybe I'm a realist and whatever, but 6 months ago when Chelsea were in an absolute shambles, I knew that there was going to need to be a massive clear out regardless. I took 12 million quid or whatever we got for Jorginho because I knew we needed to reinvest the money. If we'd have kept Jorginho and still been in this position, he would have gone anyway, as Kovacic wants to. As many a player, I don't actually know names, but Kovacic is the one that keeps getting mentioned around, and there's a few clubs, including Man City, they're interested in him. But I keep seeing all these, these all the time. There's these, is it the lineup? Is it this? Is it that? I come back to what I said right at the start of the stream. It's the identity of Chelsea Football Club. Where's it gone? What is it? We had it when we had Roman Abramovich. It was we want to try and win. We want to try and be successful. With the new ownership that was going to come in, there was always going to be a transition. There always was. It wasn't going to go and be, we're going to bankroll the league and we're going to go and win it and it's going to be an absolute joke. But unfortunately, the position that Chelsea Football Club are in at the moment, after a few years of bad signings, and not a brilliant summer in terms of signings with Cucurella, Koulibaly, Sterling. Who else did we bring in the summer? Fofana is a good. Oh yeah, bugger them off. Fofana is a good player to have around. But the thing, the real problem I've got, based on purely today, we had a massive problem at right back, which they exploited. Obvious. We know Azpilicueta. We know Dave isn't going to be up to that task. Chilwell is better going forward than he is defensively. I didn't think he necessarily did that badly today in terms of a defensive performance, but either way, we know that that's not our strengths. But this constant chopping and changing of managers and players, and even the ownership, obviously, over the last 12 months, which is obviously a very unforeseen circumstance and won't happen again for 10 years. We were destined to fail. We've been destined to fail for a long, long time. And I just want to, I think the thing for me, and, Pice has said it, and we've all said it, if you go down fighting, it's a start. It's a stepping stone. It's one of those things that Chelsea years ago, when we had, JT and Lampard, we were still absolute bastards to play against. It wasn't purely because we had the best team and we had the best technical players. We had a group of players that were an actual unit. And I haven't seen that unit all season. Ever since Thomas Tuchel went, I haven't seen that unit. And even when Thomas Tuchel was here, I didn't necessarily see that unit largely. I saw people.
Spurs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs thing was brilliant because obviously we all had to fight and it was the second game and whatever. But I still think that's largely down to frustrations. Even starting from pre-season, it was horrendous. Like everything was just been a complete shambles with the club. And we've got ourselves into a position now where we're going to miss out on Champions League football. Are we guaranteed to make European football next year? No, we're not. We need to properly rebuild this. Properly rebuild it. Get rid of the goalkeepers. Get someone else in who's going to be capable. Even if it's Selena, is it the third choice goalkeeper? Or
I'm not sure I'd back him being the first choice next year.
Neither would I. But if it gets rid of egos like Kepa and Mendy and all these things and start to rebuild, then do it. You've got some good young pieces in this team. And the thing that, again, gets me most frustrated about Chelsea Football Club at the moment isn't because of the 11 individual performances that were all a bit poor today, bar a few. It's because we currently have no idea where we're going. If you want to be completely data-driven and go all about stats and statistics, then back it and do it. And all Chelsea fans will have
and don't hire Frank Lampard, who doesn't even know how a statistic looks like.
I have to say, I love Frank. Everyone knows I love Frank.
We all love Frank, but
even as a manager, we all know what happened when he went, of course, and I got cooked and all this sort of stuff. We get it. I understand. But when Lampard, who is a Chelsea legend, today for 90 minutes didn't get off the bench, is it down to him not caring? I don't think so. Is it down to him not having a fucking clue what he's doing in terms of picking a starting 11 and juggling a squad full of massive egos, which has got 32 people in it? Yeah, I think it's more likely going to be the latter one. So people going, let's get rid of Frank.
We have about 5 injured, so now it's only 25. So you can't even complain about the squad size today.
But that's the thing. I mean, if the players that we're missing, i.e. Mount and James and people that Lampard's relied on previously, if you're now going on others, someone like Sterling, who's won 4 or 5 league titles, whatever the hell he's won, and has scored loads of goals in Premier League level, he's probably got to look at it and think, well, realistically, if he hasn't been told, which again is a whole different thing, because if he has been told, then he's just got to put people in the shop window and it's horrible. Yeah. But if he hasn't been told, he's got one of the best goal scorers in the Premier League in the last 5 years in the squad, who's on 300 grand a week. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
325, I think, Sterling.
325, whatever it is. It's just a shambles, and I feel sorry for any manager that would come into it.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
I felt massively sorry for Grandpa. I really liked what he was trying to do and what he did at Brighton. I get it. I completely understand the logic in it, but he was clearly destined to fail. When it came to January, when we signed people like Mudryk and signed players like Enzo and Madueke and Fofana and all these things, Potter's probably looking at it going like, I maybe could have done with 2, maybe, mate. That'd have been great. But now I've got to deal with it. I really
wonder who we would have signed in January had Pulisic and Sterling that both got injured on January 2nd. I would be very intrigued. Would we have signed 2 wingers? Would we have signed just one? Or would we have signed none? I don't know. I mean, I still stand by the fact that I drastically disagree that 10 mil for Jorginho was worth not having Jorginho for these 6 months.
Honestly, 10 mil, I'll take it.
I disagree because, number one, we're not getting 12 because they are not winning the league. So it's only 10. Hey, just don't sign Dacho Fofana. There's your 10 million back, problem solved. And now we sit here, we have no leaders. Now people talk about, but look at us. Look at us, how there's no structure to our midfield. When has that ever happened? We got overrun, but did you ever see us not having structure? No, it's not a thing that happens when you have Jorginho there because that's what.
I can agree with that.
But
I can agree with it.
Million on Enzo Fernandez, who is a number 8. Then letting the only person that can play as a 6 in your football club go, and then make a guy you spend 120 million on play as a 6 when that's not what he's that good at. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. I don't care 10 million here, 10 million there. What's much more important is not fucking ruining Enzo Fernandez. That's much more relevant than 10 million more or 10 million less. It doesn't matter.
We've got Enzo Fernandez for 8 years now. We've even extended him another year.
But
exactly,
we're not dirty. We're not a unit. True, but part of that is because we never win. Like Mikel Arteta spoke about. Obviously, they're not going to win the league this season, but everyone's aware that they took a massive step this season. And, journalists asked him, what's the difference? And his response was simply winning. Because once you win, everything becomes easy. And when you're just losing and losing and losing, you can be a good footballer, but you never, as a team, it's never going to function if you just keep losing and keep losing.
But I tell you what Arsenal also did do is Arsenal took massive steps backwards, not by choice. They didn't want to take massive steps backward, but they went back. They finished 10th. They had a terrible team. Even when they won the FA Cup, didn't they finish like 10th or 8th in back-to-back seasons? They really weren't good for a period of time. They only qualified for Europe because they won the FA Cup
and fought in relegation. Not
exactly.
Really,
Again, there's a whole big thing that we can go on about here in terms of, whether it's, Enzo Fernandez or whatever for this like last, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it's been, or even next season. For me, the thing is getting the structure right. And I think one of the things you need to do with Enzo Fernandez, who is a phenomenal footballer and will be a phenomenal footballer, and I think over time will turn into a Jorginho-like player when maybe the yard of pace goes. I think he can dictate that play. But what Chelsea haven't had for absolutely years is a proper destroyer in midfield. Now, if that £10 million to sell in Jorginho goes into play...
It's just when you don't bring that in, but you let the only other person that plays that position go, it doesn't make sense.
Again, I agree. I completely understand where you're coming from. I wrote off the season long before January. That was where I was at. I know other people maybe are a little bit, maybe a little bit, more optimistic or whatever. But for me, I wrote the season off way before January, which is...
wrote it off, sure, but expected it to end up like this? Also, no, I will be honest.
No, I will say, no, I did not. I did not end up for it to finish up the way that it has. But when you have so many other glaring needs in this team, I think that to get £10 million for a player who was going to be out of contract in 6 months, and realistically, we weren't going to do it. We weren't going to extend him regardless because
we weren't. And I understand.
And he wasn't going to do it, especially if we ended up anywhere close to this.
But in hindsight, you have to say, we lost a popular figure in the dressing room. Everyone liked the guy. Now our dressing room seems to be a whole lot of shambles everywhere. They're constantly moaning at each other on the pitch, no matter what happens. There's no leadership on the pitch anymore, other than Thiago Silva. And even he's, he's not exactly the most vocal of all people. I'm not sure if that's to do with language.
English isn't his first language, is it? Yeah. There was a whole big thing that he didn't even know English when he came to play for Chelsea. Yeah.
Now
the fact that he does, it's still not going to be brilliant, is it?
I think he speaks enough English now to
of course, now he does. But still, he's not going to have that same dominance and threat.
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, you can't be in a situation like we are, add one young player after the other, get rid of all the older players and not think that that's going to have a negative effect. Because name me one team that's only full of young players that have ever won anything. That doesn't exist. You can have a lot of young, talented players. And,
I agree. I completely understand. I get that.
Improve and progress everything. But you need a couple of experienced players in there. Not let all of them go. Do you know what I mean? And Kante don't count because Kante doesn't even have a mouth. He can't speak. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kante is going to be a leader and show that he's really an older player. But let's not get too hung up on, the Jorginho debate. Let's talk about our players. I mean, let's just get Kepa out the way. It's a tough one. When he caught the header and then threw it out of his hands, I understand why he did, because he would have hit the post with the ball in his hand and was scared where that was going to bounce then. So I understand that he kind of had to do it in a way, but it looked dodgy. Now, I'll ask you guys whether you think he could have done anything about the first goal.
Yeah.
It's like, when a player shoots with as much power as Odegaard did, I don't know. Maybe he could have saved it. Maybe he couldn't. Would it have changed the result? Absolutely not. Okay, he saves that. They get another huge chance 2 minutes later. It doesn't make a fucking difference. He made some other good saves after Aspi nearly, forced us into an own goal 2 minutes into the game. He made a good save there and a couple of them others. Honestly, I just give Kepa a 6. He made a couple of decent saves. Maybe could have done a bit better for that first goal. It doesn't matter. Let's just get the goalie out the way. The goalie wasn't the be-all and end-all of anything today. The outfielders is where things happen. That's what I'd say. Price. Start with Kepa. Thoughts on the first goal, but also in general, would you agree with the 6? Just made some good saves. Maybe could have done a bit better here, but is what it is, right?
No, I'd give him a 5 for the goal. I thought he should have saved it. He did make a couple of other saves, but I think he should have done better on the goal. Yeah, I only remember one that was decent, and that was when Azpi headed it back. I thought it was a decent save.
No. He was 1-on-1 against Xhaka. That was a good save, no?
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah, give credit. Yeah.
Don't remember that.
Yeah, that was like, when was it? Was it early first half?
Maybe
that midway through, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Maybe 5.5 then, but I can't give him a 6 for the goal.
Yeah, I would go closer to a 5 than I would a 6.
All right,
personally,
unfortunately.
Give him a 5.5 then, whether it's the 5.5, 5 or 6. I don't really care at this point, if I'm being perfectly honest. Let's get to the defenders then. Let's start with Thiago Silva. I mean, he cleared one off the line, so that was great. Yeah, he certainly was the most capable of all defenders today. That's for sure. But I still don't think he was, in the grand scheme of things, very good. I think it was actually on the end of. I think that's when Kepa made that save against Xhaka, when Thiago just got ridiculously spun by, I think, Gabriel Jesus. Can't remember. I'm going to give him a 4. I'm going to give low ratings to pretty much everyone here, so don't be surprised just because I'm giving Thiago Silva a 4. But I'm going to say 4. I'm intrigued whether you guys are going to go higher or lower than that. Ian, what would you say for Thiago?
I could stay with 4. I'm quite content with that. The one off the line maybe exceeding a little bit more, but I'd stick with a 4.
Fair enough, Pice. Do you think I'm being harsh because of the goal line clearance and everything, or do you still think as a team, we couldn't defend, we couldn't play out from the back? These are things that you have to talk about centre backs for, and it's not just we love him. How high are you going to go with that? What would you say, bro?
I would. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'd probably say a 5. I think. Yeah, maybe a 5. I think maybe 4's a little bit too harsh, but again, I want to see him take some more authority in the back line. To be honest with you, I thought again, he was kind of. There was moments where he was. I don't know whether he was arguing, but he was, discussing with Enzo and just. I don't know. It's difficult, obviously, because his first language isn't English, but yeah, as another player, I just think
that has nothing to do with talking to Enzo. Because Enzo can't speak a word of English anyway.
No, I just meant like in general. Like obviously, you can't be like a John Terry at the back. Obviously, but I don't know. I just think experience-wise, a few of the experienced players really disappointed me today, personally. So yeah, I think Silva's included in that.
Fair enough. Let's move on. Give him a 4.5 with 2 4s and 1 5. Let's get to Wesley Fofana. He did get subbed off as the last sub for Trevor Chalobah. Actually, I should probably write that down here if I have all the other subs on screen. I'm not sure what was wrong with him, if he had a serious knock. I'm not sure if you know, Pice, but first of all, if you do know, let us know. Otherwise, what would you rate Fofana? There was moments where I thought he did good, and there was moments where I thought he did bad, and there was one moment where I thought he was very lucky because even though he tried to put his hand away, the shot clearly hit his hand in the box, and I was very surprised they didn't give a penalty, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was. I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was probably a penalty, but I don't really know nowadays with these handballs because
that's true. I don't know the rules, so my gut instinct told me it's probably a penalty. Now.
Yeah, I think it just depends on literally. I think it literally just depends on who's VAR and who's ref at the time. To be honest with you, exactly. But I think they make it up as they go along. Fofana, I don't know. I think he had some okay moments, but I did think he was a little bit shaky. That goal, by the way, Jesus' goal was such a mess. Yeah. One of the reasons why I give Silva a rating as well. What I think it was him and Silva. What were they doing on the floor? Swinging.
Yeah, three players all on the right hand side.
Come on, fucking hell, it's an absolute mess. Be serious about it. It's just so. It just goes to show everything that's wrong. I'll probably give him. I mean, you could probably give them both a 4. I'll give them both a 5, to be honest. But you could probably go lower, I think. I think
I'll go lower, but I'll take your 5, mate. Ian, what about you for Fofana? Would you give him the same as Thiago? Go lower than Thiago even? What would you say?
I'd probably say the same as Thiago Silva. I didn't think either of them covered themselves in a hell of a lot of glory, but even then, having said that, I'm giving Thiago Silva a little bit more praise for knocking one off the line. So, yeah, a 4, maybe. I don't know.
Honestly, I'd give Fofana a 3. Not because I think he was that much worse than Thiago, but Thiago had a goal line clearance. Thiago was certainly the more assured of the two. I thought was the only one that gave us a little bit of leadership, control. A guy that looked like he had an idea of what he was doing, while Fofana seemed to more get roped into what all the others were doing, and it was a whole shit show with us. I mean, he wasn't helped by having Azpi on his side, and Arsenal obviously exploiting that all game long. That is obviously Fofana's side, and will give him a lot to do, and he did. So, but yeah, I guess there you go, a 3, a 4, and a 5. We end at a 4, and we get to Azpi. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of actually good tackles that I thought he had in the box in the second half. But, I mean, when he did that in the second minute of the game and nearly basically cost us a goal with just the most stupid, backwards headers I've ever seen. Well, not backwards, but back to the goalie. He just got spun all game. Like, he was just nowhere useful at nothing really, other than those couple of tackles in the box. But by then we were 3-0 and 3-1 respectively down. So, by then it's a bit late to start defending properly, mate. So I'm gonna give Azpi a 1. I really don't think he deserves any more than that. Yes, it's harsh because he is past it, but he is past it. Frank will also get a low rating because he picked him, but I cannot wait to have, when Reece isn't fit, to have Malo Gusto next season. I cannot wait for that. Price, what about Azpi? Would you agree with me? Would you go lower? Would you go a tad higher? What would you say? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, Price, subscribe if you haven't already. Please do that. That'd be great. And hit that like button. It helps me spread these streams out to more people. Let's get to at least 100 likes instantly. It's just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time. But Price, Azpi, what you saying?
I mean, with Azpi, I almost feel sorry for him half the time because he does try, bless him, but he's so passive. I say the same thing every time. I think he's been passive for, a good number of years now. I remember in Lampard's first season, I'm not sure if it was Sheffield United at home or something like that, but several times that season I tweeted out like Azpi's legs are gone, he can't play right back anymore. Here we are in 2023 and he's playing right back. Like, come on, like.
But can I ask a serious question? When was Azpi ever actually good at right back? Because was he actually ever good at right back? Because when we signed him, he was back up to Ivanovic. And then Jose decided to play him at left back because he made him an inverted defensive left back who's right-footed. So he played left back for a season. We won the league. Great. He was good at that, but not at right back. Then Kante turned up and he played right centre back of a back three. Still not right back. And then whenever Kante or Tuchel were forced to use him as a right wing back, he was dreadful, but they never played a back four. So he never actually played a right back. So at this point, I'm like, was Azpi actually ever good at right back? Because, legs gone. But was Azpi ever much faster than he was a bit faster, but was he much faster? He never had any serious knee injuries or whatever. He's only 33. You don't get that much slower between 32 and 33. Do you know what I mean? So I think maybe Azpi purely as a right back was maybe never as good as we sometimes thought because of how good he was as a right centre back. But now that we don't use him there, but we use him as a right wing back, as a right back, the question goes back to Frank. Why today all of a sudden a back four? Why again today? You played stupid 3-5-2 for the last 3 games, which never worked, and now all of a sudden, right back again. Back four again. I don't understand. But, sorry, did you give me a rating? Did you agree with the 1? Sorry.
I mean,
who, me or Pies?
No, Pies still. I wasn't sure if you said a rating.
I mean, yeah, I think you got it right, to be honest with you. You got torn to shreds pretty much. He was the worst thing is as well is that he obviously, because we was pressing so high, he didn't have the legs to get back and he was really struggling. So I don't think whatever Frank Lampard was trying to do, because I couldn't figure it out, was weren't working, and it just affected players like Azpi even
Did you
more.
think we pressed high the whole game? Because I thought in the first half we just literally dropped back and tried to build a huddle, and then still didn't know how to defend.
I think our maybe not so much pressing, but I think our position was more often than not naturally high. I do see what you mean in terms of I think the first 15 minutes we sat back and tried to hit them on the counters, but I think especially after they scored the first goal.
After we were 3-0 down, we went a bit more because there was nothing to lose.
I don't know. I just felt like we was always open, and Azpi was trying to support Madueke, but it wasn't working. I mean, there's not much more to say. I think 1, yeah.
Fair enough. Ian, do you think we're being a bit too harsh, or would you be on along similar lines for Azpi?
No, Azpi was a great when we brought him many years ago, but I'm with Pike. I think he's been past it for a few years. It's horrible to say because I would say he's a Chelsea legend and he's been a great captain for us and everything, but the time has come. Unfortunately, Azpi, the time has definitely come. It's come and gone, to be honest with you. It's definitely still time to get rid of him. I don't want to say anything negatively about him, but I would probably say that rating is fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move over to Chilwell on the other side then. Ian touched on him earlier in terms of he wasn't the worst. He had our best chance in the first half when he went through at 1-0 and forced a decent save from Ramsdale. Should he have done a bit better and maybe actually scored? Yeah, maybe he should have done. in a way, like Kepa maybe should have saved the first goal. It's like, okay, Chilwell, maybe you should have scored. But at the same time, I still think it wasn't a bad effort. The whole run was good. It would have been on target. You know, how often do our strikers not even hit the target? Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, it forced a good save from Ramsdale as well. The disappointing part is he was the only one that really got through in like little situations to like put in a ball or whatever. And whenever he did, the cross in the end was always really poor, which was disappointing. I mean, Bukayo Saka didn't even see him in the game, really. So you could say Chilwell definitely wasn't awful. But I'd probably give him the same 4 I gave Thiago Silva. I don't think he deserves any higher, but I think giving him much lower would be harsh. So I'm gonna say 4. Ian, what would you give Chile?
Yeah, 4 sounds about right. Maybe a 4.5. Yeah, let's say a 4.5 because he was. I would say he was our best defender, which I know is not brilliant, but yeah.
Fair enough. 4.5. Pice, what about you, Chile? I know you're always very critical when players, and that, including Chilwell, but also others, are not great on their crosses. His crosses was one of the worst parts of him. Apparently, Lampard has promised that Madueke will play more in the next matches. Frank. So you've seen the player play. You thought, he's actually half decent. How about I keep playing him? Shock of that, Frank. How about you watch Sterling and realize maybe I don't play him anymore? But that is a different debate. But yeah, I mean, let me get the crosses stat up for you. To be fair, you only attempted 3 and completed 1, so it's actually 33%.
His touches were atrocious, man. That's the one thing I noticed today. Fucking hell, his touches, like, whenever he got pressed, I got cooked for this on Twitter, obviously, because I said, I think Cucurella, in terms of receiving the ball, is better. I think Chilwell's a better player, but I think some of his touches, like, just so bad. I just don't understand. There's clips, if you want to go and find them on Twitter, like, it's just happening a lot lately, and I don't know. In the first half, the amount of times he let Saka cut in on his left foot, I was like, fucking hell. Like, you're talking about, like, he did an interview before the game. He was like,
I was literally just going to say that as well.
Yeah, it was like, first and foremost, I'm going to focus on defending. I'll try and take Saka the other way. It didn't look like he was bloody
First thing he did in the game was let him go inside.
Literally, exactly. The first attack, also, it was literally like after 30 seconds because they won the ball back. And Saka went at Chilwell. He let him cut inside. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? It's so annoying. Obviously, I think he's a much better left wing, but I think we all know that. But yeah, I don't think he's atrocious defensively, but I think it can cost us. It definitely can. And I just need him to get back at those levels he once was at. I just don't think he's quite there. But a lot of the team are playing shit right now anyway. So yeah, it is what it is. In terms of rating, I give him 4. I thought he did okay going forward, but defensively, I think it wasn't great for me.
Fair enough. Let's take it to Enzo Fernandez then. A guy who I still feel bad for that he constantly has to play in this position, especially in the midfield 3 is even more drastic with how much deeper than all the others he is. And he just can't be any use in what we actually signed him for, helping us create. And we just put him as far away from where he needs to be to create as we possibly can. And I know why, because we don't have anyone else to play other than Zakaria, but apparently neither Potter nor Lampard think that's a valid option. So what can I do? But he wasn't good. I'll be straight up. He got subbed off as well, which is that for rest because he's played every single game. I don't think he's never, ever not started since signing for Chelsea, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But I'll give him, honestly, even a 3 feels nice, but I'm going to be harsh on the others as well. So I'll say 3 for now, but I might take that even lower. Ian, what did you make of Enzo and what would you rate him?
I'd say a 3. That was fair. I'd say it a million times. Enzo is a proper footballer. I'm so happy with playing football. He's brilliant, but I think it was not his finest hour, and I don't think it was anyone's. I think regardless, also the other as well. It's great that he can, pass ball 10, 15 yards and knock it a little bit further if he wants, but also as well, and he's going to come from other people around him wanting to receive the ball. And that was what was really lacking today, I thought. So, yeah, I think a 3 is fair. I wouldn't say it's wholeheartedly his fault.
No, I have no idea. Ian's mic is slightly cutting out a little bit, or his connection. Hopefully that just gets better. We tried turning the camera off. Then it worked. Now it's again a bit of dodgy connection, but I'm sure it will improve itself. Pice, 2 3s for Enzo. Would you agree? Would you give him lower? Would you give him higher? What do you think?
I don't think he was worse than Chilwell, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I don't know. Well, his stats don't say so anyway. But I don't know. I don't think.
How do his stats say that he was better than Chilwell? In what way? Because obviously they have different roles to do, so it's like.
Yeah, I think.
Because maybe I am too harsh. So like, I'm happy.
I was just looking at them, and now I've got to go back and compare. But come back to it in a second.
All good. I mean, I don't know quite how much higher you would have gone if you think he wasn't as bad as Chilwell. So therefore, that tells me like
probably the same rating. To be honest with you, I think recoveries. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Enzo made 7 recoveries. Chilwell made 3. Better ground duels. Actually, the same duels, ground duels. Chilwell 5 aerials. Yeah, I think the big thing for me of Enzo was that dummy that he did. I don't know why he let that. I think do you think
it was a dummy? I just don't think.
Yeah, he let the ball.
I just think he was a bit slow in realizing that he needs to intercept this, or assume that someone behind him.
Say, like, no matter what your like, if your natural position is more of a number 8, you still got like basics. Intercept that, block the pass, like be aware. Don't think our players were aware today. Any of them. That was a big issue as well. Was awareness of what was around them. And Odegaard's a great player. You can't. You got to be wary. Him and Kovacic, you both got to be wary of what's around you. So the amount of times Arsenal, like one of the best things Arsenal are good at is making just these little split darting runs, and then they play a little ball, and it's just like it's like City. Like in a second, they're just gone and they score a goal. That's what happened twice with Odegaard, and I think Enzo and Kova were both at fault for that. But again, you can question structure. Should Kante have been, further back as well? Should we have maybe played, I don't know, a free midfield for this game? Should we have done what we did last game, and actually played a more defensive system away from home and tried to counter-attack, maybe with different players up front? So there's those debates to be had as well. But rating...
I think we played super defensively in this shape anyway until we were 3-0 down. But at that point, it
didn't feel like it, though, for me, Laurenz. It didn't feel like it. It constantly felt like we were so open and just...
No, I agree, but I put that down to us being bad, not us not being defensive, not playing defensively.
Like with the last game, I know we conceded 2, but I just felt like we was, I was like last game. I was like,
okay. Last game again, sorry, Brentford, yeah.
Brentford. Like last game, I was like, okay, right, what do we do? We got nothing going forward, but defensively today, I was like, it was more flip side. It was like, okay, we're going forward now, but defensively we look shit. Like there's no like, as Lampard said, he said himself, he's trying to find a structure, yet he keeps doing different things every game. So like, what the fuck do you expect?
And our last game was a week ago. Like he had a week to find a structure. Do you know what I mean? Right.
He used Brentford as an example to build off what he used against Real Madrid. I mean, how stupid is that? Like, completely.
And now we're playing Arsenal. It's a whole different ball game to flip.
Yeah, like
no disrespect to Brentford, but
it's not. You can play 3 at the back. Play 3 at the back against Arsenal. Like, I don't know.
I think he might have done with Reece James, but with I don't know. I just think he doesn't think Ruben at right wing back is an option, and therefore.
Well, then he's stupid because Ruben's done fine at right wing back.
I know that. You know that. Everyone other than Frank knows that.
Like, I know, but it's so dumb because Ruben has never dropped less than a 6 at right wing back ever. I don't think.
No,
so
genuinely.
I just don't get that. Enzo, I'd probably give a 4, same as Chilwell, because I just don't think he was worse. I think probably about the same.
Yeah, no, you said that, hence why I put the 3.5 on screen. There you go. Now, I would love to say Kante next, but as usual, our managers think Kante should be our second striker. So we have to do Kovacic first. Shout out to him, because the assist was gorgeous. What a pass that was. Otherwise, not very good. And I just don't understand why he doesn't dribble anymore. Like, he gets pressed, and he always used to just turn them, dribble past them, and all of a sudden we'd have space. And that's how so often we then have the opportunities and the space to create chances. But because he never goes past anyone anymore now, we don't it's not just his fault, obviously, but that's one of the reasons why we can't play it out from the back anymore and why we can't get the ball to our attackers in useful positions anymore. Because the only times our attackers see the ball is either trying to counter or when the opponent is fully set up in their defensive structure. And part of that, in my opinion, is because Kova doesn't dribble past anyone at the moment, which is super frustrating. But because of the assist, I will... To be honest, I probably would have given the whole midfield a 3. But for Kova's assist, I'll give him a 4. But yeah, for me, the whole midfield was a shambles. And to be honest, even those 3s are maybe a bit high. Quite frankly, I could give them all a 0 and give Kova a 1 for the assist. I easily could, because we were destroyed and annihilated. In particular, in my opinion, the biggest issue area of the pitch for me was midfield. Sure, the defenders, but because Arsenal went through our midfield so easily, it doesn't matter how good or bad your defenders are. If the attacker, if the opponent goes through your own midfield in numbers so quickly, you can't do nothing. Because you just see players in red, just left, right, in front of you, behind you. You just see Arsenal players everywhere, and then you see a few Chelsea midfielders jogging after them, and you're like, well, I don't want to take the defenders out of scrutiny, not at all. But I still think the worst part about our game today, I've went with my 3 for Enzo. I'm going to go with my... You know what? No, the assist, because we still lost, I'm only going to give him 3.5, not 4. Okay, because I think, I can't give any of these midfielders a 4. I cannot. So I'm going to say 3.5. What has happened? Has Damesh joined us? No, Ian is just back. Disconnected seemingly. You know what, Ian? I'll let you go first. Kovacic, did you think he was any better or good or than Enzo? But obviously the assist, I'm sure we all agree that was a nice ball.
Yeah, what rating have you given? Sorry, I'm on my phone now. What rating have you given?
I said 3.5, mate.
Yeah, probably about right. This was nice, but yeah, he's not the player he once was. Love him, think he's a fantastic footballer, but to be honest with you, everything that's come out in the media recently about him potentially wanting to go, I just think his heart's not in it at the moment. And I think that kind of showed today, to be honest with you. The confidence is massively lacking. And I just think it was an all-round bad day for Kovacic, other than the assist. But yeah, I probably go with a 3.5.
There you go. And I mean, someone in the chat says, check the stats. Yeah, his pass accuracy was 89%, but I want to see a pass map, because how many of them were more than 5 yards and how many of them were forwards, right?
What's his name? Jorginho? Is that right? 89% 5-yard passes.
There you go. But at least Jorginho actually got criticised for it. You know what I mean? When every other player does it, apparently no one gives a shit. Then the next issue in and of itself, Pice, we know he's one of your favorite players. Let me not necessarily say favorite. I'm sure you love the assist, but overall, did you think he was any good again compared to the last few weeks? He wasn't really, was he?
No, I don't think he was great at all, to be honest. I'll probably give him 3 tops. I mean, I just
really?
think...
You thought it was so much worse than Enzo with the assist still?
Yeah, just because I think like that, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I noticed that position more, but I definitely that side. I think he was just not less influential, of course, because he got the assist. It was a good assist, but I don't know. I'm a big fan of Kovacic, and I just think he's so far off his current level. And maybe I'm a bit more harsh on him just because I do love him. But yeah, I mean, just like defensively, I mean, we know he's not the greatest anyway, but like watching back that Odegaard goal, I'm just like, again, like, be aware, close the ball down. I don't think he was great on the ball personally. I do think his passes, other than the pass he did do, which is a great assist, but again, did it really matter at that point? No, to be honest with you, they weren't great. So yeah, and I don't know. I just think he's so far off his level again. Like leadership and experience. I sometimes watch him. Does he want to leave? I mean, I know there's been. By the way, there's not actually been any like tier 1 like proper source say he wants to leave. But it does like there have been a few like people that have saying maybe he does want to leave. I don't know.
I don't think we should take any reports on who does and who doesn't want to leave seriously before we have the new manager confirmed. Because I think anything in that is kind of like, maybe agents putting out their feelers. Where could we go to if we don't like what's happening? So I mean, it's a lot of question marks up in the air, so I wouldn't.
It's such a shit.
None of them are playing like they want to be here. Let's be honest. Right now, you could say all 11 of them want to leave, right? So,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's such a shit situation. Like, if you put yourself in the players' shoes at the minute, like, when like all of them don't have any confidence and they don't like, they're thinking, oh yeah, like it's almost like they're already going into the game defeated, and it's so hard to like.
It's so hard to get out of that until you win a couple of games.
So hard, yeah,
one win wouldn't even change it.
It's like we can sit here and perfectly. By the way, it's totally true that they look like they don't care, and you know, they're not getting to second balls and not trying, and you know, not fighting for the shirt. I've tweeted, I don't think any of them care, but I don't know. Maybe they do, and maybe it's just a collective issue.
Than they do.
Maybe because we just have lost so many games in a row. It's like, oh, you know, like. I don't know, man. It's such a hard situation to judge because, like, I think even like we got the goal tonight, and after that, I thought we actually played a little bit better. To be fair,
second half was all right. Like in the grand scheme of things,
all right. And I'm just thinking, like, what would like? It sounds so stupid, but what would one win do for us? Like, it might actually do something. You know, it's just getting.
To be honest, I think we'd need two. Once we get, if we get two, then I'm like, okay, we like. I could be like have some sort of faith back in us, but
and you must think of the player as well. Like
Kotler, by the way, this is on you, not the club. By the way, if you're in this situation for 50 quid on anything we do positively, you can't you can't just no. But yeah, sorry, you were trying to say something else there. My bad.
No, I was just saying like actually I don't know what I was saying. I forgot. But
something about confidence, I think.
Just like the overall like vibe of the team. Like when we I was going to say. When you're 2-0 down in like what was it, 30 minutes? Was it they scored 2 goals?
4 minutes, I think.
It's just like you. I know it's like hard as a fan, you know, to see this, but like all the players must just think, oh, for fuck's sake, like that's another game gone. And even though they're at fault for making that happen, it's just like, you know, the situation to be in for players must suck as well. But there's definitely a few of them that I just think like, you know, need to take more responsibility. And Kovacic is amongst one of those, and Sterling as well, and you know, less so the young players, but just more like the experienced guys, like you know, Azpi was arguing with Gabriel, like he showed more fighting to Gabriel than he did on the fucking pitch. Like it's so annoying. I don't know.
There you go. All right. I mean, you wanted to give Kova a 3, right? Even though me and Ian say 3.5, I guess the 3.5 it remains then. Let's get to Kante. And I know people won't like me saying this and say I'll have an agenda, but I genuinely thought maybe he was even the worst of the 3. Yeah. Like when we had that counter-attack, I know Madueke's run kind of ruined it a little bit because the run was just bad and kind of in the way of Kante. But whatever the flip he was doing, he had Havertz to his left, Sterling to his right, Madueke trying to make the run through the middle. And he would have way overhit it anyway. He would have played it way past Havertz. Not that Havertz could have done anything with it anyway. But he hit it straight into the chest of the Arsenal player. It bounced somewhere. Madueke nearly did something with it anyway. But then all the other 3 had fallen asleep. So that was then ruined. The amount of times he felt like he gave the ball away, I mean, he had only 79% pass accuracy, Kova at 89. Not that I want to go by that completely, but ground duels, 1 out of 4. Kova had 4 out of 10. So why are you even only in 4 ground duels? I mean, that just shows enough of a problem with Kante. I just don't understand why we use him as the most offensive of our midfielders. I just will never understand. He's not a lone 6, I understand. But he's more of a lone 6 than he is a fucking number 10. And that's what it feels like we're using him as at half the time these days. And that's just frustrating. Maybe a 2 would be a little too harsh, but I'm actually say 2.5. I know I said I'll give all of them a 3, but I'm gonna say 2.5. Maybe you guys can obviously raise that, but I'll go with you first, Pice. What do you reckon? Am I harsh? 2.5? Did you think he wasn't maybe even the worst of the lot? It's difficult.
Yeah, Kante was really bad tonight. I think I totally agree. I mean, the 4-on-2, it was so hilarious because like me and my brother said, like, watch, we're going to make the wrong pass, or someone will slip when they receive the ball, and it's just that moment there just really does typify. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Also, at the moment, as a team, Kante, yeah, he was really poor on the ball. I think, you know, not in terms of like dribbling. I just think passing wise was not great. I'd like to see. I don't know if anyone can get like his pass accuracy up, but I felt like he give the ball away quite a bit.
He had 79%. Cover had
I mean that's too low for Kante.
Enzo had 89%. But again, Kante probably tried the most difficult passes, other than Kovac's assist, if I'm honest. But that doesn't mean he wasn't any good. Especially his like, obviously, I know have they even ever played together before? I'm not sure. But him and Madueke, I mean, they just had no idea what each other were thinking. Like, never. Madueke wanted a 1-2, make a run, get it played over the top. Kante passed it backwards. Madueke is fuming. Then Kante tries to play a quick 1-2, plays it 3 yards behind Madueke. I'm like, what are you doing? But I guess that also partly happens when players never play together. But Pice, what rating would you give him, though?
2, probably.
No, don't you? Actually, no, I mean, we've gone quite far since the defenders. But in hindsight, do you think you were slightly nice on the defenders? We're giving 5s to both of the centre backs, considering we conceded 3 goals in half an hour.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I did say I could quite easily give them both 4s, but
you did, but you still gave them a 5 in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to give Kante a 1, actually. I think he was atrocious.
I didn't see that coming. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll give Fofana a 4. No, Kante 1.
Nah, him and Azpi are going to get the same rating because, again, experienced players.
Okay.
Yeah, 1.
All right. I'll get to you in a second, Damesh. I'll let you speak a little more than just the rating, considering you've turned up a little bit later. Ian, Kante, Pice gave him a 1, which even I think maybe a tad harsh. I said 2.5. What would you give Kante, bro?
I give him a 2. I got a little bit of flack just before Chelsea won the Champions League, saying I thought that if he sold Kante, it would be a good thing and maybe cash in on him at the time. I think today was sort of a prime example of he can't do that role in trying to, really progress the ball up the pitch and do it with real quality. It's obvious he can run with the ball. I mean, we clearly saw it, but again, that final pass was horrendous. I think for me, Kante is sort of that like Makelele figure now, where he's got to do the defensive work. He's got to win the ball back, and we'll drive it up the pitch, but he kind of then needs to know when the time is to pass the ball off. And I think there's many a time there's been, and tonight is a great example of it, where he's clearly got a ceiling doing that at the age that he is. I'd keep him around if he takes a pay cut, but if he went, I would be a little bit saddened, but not upset. I thought today it just seemed like a real sign of the end for Kante, which is horrible. But yeah, I just think a 2 is fair. I honestly do.
Fair enough. A 1, a 2, and a 2.5.
Made a lot of recoveries, but his decision making was.
Yeah, he can do one thing, and that's fine. And if we want him to do that one thing, then absolutely brilliant. But if you're going to be progressing the ball up the pitch and trying to join in with an attack, that's when you've got a problem.
I always think Kante's best in a in a pivot. He can do that.
I agree.
Like, he can carry the ball forward, but like where Kovacic and Kante are playing, like really like top end of the pitch, I don't think like
I agree.
Sometimes sometimes he does get like a goal or something. Like I remember the Leicester away goal where he was really forward and he just hit it and scored. Obviously, still a great player, but like you said, like he needs to. That's on Lampard though. Like he needs to use him best. He's not using him best. So like,
genuine question: do you think that you said it's on Lampard there, but do you get the impression sometimes that N'Golo Kante has a point where it comes to in football? We're talking about a world-class player here, but you kind of have the idea that when he played for France in the World Cup, he had the idea, he picked the ball up and he got rid of it to either Blaise Matuidi or Paul Pogba in 2018. And I kind of look at it now and think, if he
doesn't have anyone to give the ball to.
Yeah, if he hasn't got anyone to give the ball to, he just continues to go forward. And then he ends up like a rabbit in the headlights. So I think, although it does come down to Lampard in terms of playing him in that position, I still have a worry that even if Lampard said, play him as a 6 and you do this job, he would still go off on a tangent and do something different anyway.
I agree. And this is why I don't think anyone is using him as a single 6, because I don't think he has that kind of discipline that he needs in that position.
I mean, you just play him in the midfield too. I don't think.
Yeah, I was saying even in a 2, that was my thing. I still wouldn't trust him to not go and run like a headless chicken.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I do want to, obviously that has nothing to do with today's rating and today's performance, but I want to let him off a little bit because I know how amazing he was against Liverpool in that first game back.
Yeah,
but
completely.
That was just a freak of nature situation. He was out since September. It's also understandable that he's not anywhere near his best, regardless of the whole team being awful. But still, it's just not great at the moment. Damesh, thank you for joining us a little bit later than the other guys. But rather than, I'm not going to ask you for all the ratings that we've done so far, but just a bit more of a broader perspective. I'm sure some people that are here now maybe necessarily weren't here in the beginning of the stream. We were saying, like, we expected this to lose, but it still stings, doesn't it? And we just don't seem to have a clue. The manager doesn't seem to have a clue who to pick. The players that play don't seem to have a clue of what to do. It's just, honestly, I would rather we just forfeit every game, honestly.
Yeah, literally. Big up yourselves, big up the chat as well. It's the same shit every week, to be honest. It's just like, there's just no words for it anymore. Like, from Lampard, the team selections, the tactics on the pitch as well. Like, obviously, you guys mentioned N'Golo Kante. Like, 100% agree with the rating that you guys are giving and stuff. And like, there was times where Kante would play as like a second striker to Aubameyang, and it's just like, what is Frank Lampard doing? It's like, why would you have him in that role? We know he's not like a second striker, or like a cam, or like a right winger, and he should be in that position, in that sort of sitting position, or in that midfield 3 position, as Craig mentioned before, in the midfield 3, where he sort of pass on the ball to someone better. But we literally don't have anyone apart from probably Enzo and maybe Cover at times as well, who can possibly do that for us. But yeah, just over on the game, man, it was just like a terrible 45 minutes. We showed a bit of fight for about half an hour, but a game's 90 minutes, and you have to turn up, at least against Arsenal. Like for me, biggest rivals in London for me, not Tottenham, is more so Arsenal. But yeah, it's just a disgrace, to be honest, the way we turned up. We couldn't even turn up for a London derby, and sort of tried to dent their title charge.
At this point, we can't even turn up for a dentist appointment.
Yeah, literally, bro. It's honestly a joke, and honestly, like, I don't know if things will get better next season with maybe Poch coming with these kind of players. Maybe we'll see a bit of improvement. Maybe we finish in Europa League races. Obviously, that's not the Chelsea we know and the Chelsea standards that we hold, but it's just where we are at the moment. And yeah, I honestly don't know where we go from here. It's just, I'll probably just sound like a broken record to say this kind of stuff, because I say this like on different streams and stuff. But yeah, man, it's just heartbreaking to see, to be honest. And it's gone to that point where it's just, you feel numb to sort of the pain, and it's just, you could tell even the leaders on the pitch, they're just not even bothered either, to be honest. And
we don't have leaders, bro. We don't have leaders.
As in like the so-called leaders that we sort of associate with Silva, Kante, even Aubameyang to some extent as well.
That I think is somewhat of a leader. And even, as I was saying earlier, even his first language isn't English, so...
Exactly, yeah.
The only real leaders we had were
well.
Silva and Jorginho. One of them left. Shocker that we look like even less leaders are there. It's not exactly surprising. But yeah, there you go. Damesh, I'll let you go first. Tough one to start you off with, because I'm feeling an emoji. But my God, is he dreadful. Like, he's so bad. Like, I just cannot believe how bad he is.
I don't know about you guys, but...
And then he even, not only does he do fuck all going forward, he also cost us a goal. He stood there in the box. Odegaard's literally in front of him. He's like, oh yeah, there he is. Looks at him. You even see him turning and seeing Odegaard there. Then he stands there as if someone fucking plastered his feet to the flipping grass, and just like Odegaard runs past him, and then you can see him shrug his shoulders. I'm like, what? I mean, Ian said at the very beginning of the stream, you know how we shipped off Czech to Arsenal, shipped off Willian? I mean, we shouldn't have, but shipped off David Luiz, shipped off so many like players once they were even slightly past it. This is what City did to us with Sterling. This is exactly what they did. They absolutely ruined us and fleeced us from top to bottom. That's what they did. My days. It's absolutely shocking how bad the guy is. Now, I'm not saying that he's necessarily full stop a dreadful footballer, and because I don't think we will sell him this summer. There will probably be moments next season where he will be good. But what he's done this season, man, he came here. Now, he didn't say this himself, I guess, and it was reported, but wanted to be the main man, well, because he didn't feel like that at City anymore and stuff like that. I mean, you wanted to be the main man, and this is what you do. But as much as I'm angry at Sterling, I'm much more angry at Lampard for picking him. Because why do you keep picking him? He's been bad every time you used him. You've used him up front. You've used him on the right. You've used him on the left. He's been bad every time and everywhere. Why do you keep playing him? There's no excuse to be made for this. And he was just dreadful. I'm going to put a 0 for now. We might get some emojis up later. We'll see. But Damesh, I mean, what can you even say about Sterling anymore? Like the first 10, 15 minutes, like he tried to play a through ball to Aubameyang. Aubameyang was making a run in the middle, and Sterling played it out of bounds next to the corner flag.
It's a goal kick, wasn't it? I think. Or, yeah.
But like not even just a goal kick close to the goal or close to Aubameyang. Close to the corner flag. Like the ball was like 30 yards away from Aubameyang. I'm like, if you did that under Pep Guardiola, he would have locked you up in a flipping solitary confinement for the next month after that kind of pass. It's shocking behavior, that is. How can you be he makes me so angry. It's just I'm really sorry. That makes you speak, otherwise I'm going to talk myself into more.
Well, what it is with Sterling, like at the start of the season when we signed him initially, I fully thought Sterling would be an excellent signing for us. I thought he would possibly be one of the signings of the season for us. I don't know about you guys, what about the chat, but for me,
I always said
I'd
rather initially have Gabriel Jesus than Sterling, but you know.
Yeah, obviously, like I wanted Jesus over Sterling, but I thought, Raheem Sterling coming in, established Premier League winger, over 100 goals as a winger. Not many in the Premier League have that. I thought he'd be a really good signing for us, and my God, did I get that so wrong? Like, I honestly think this guy's finished. I think he's washed at the top level. Like, I think regardless of the creators we potentially would have around him for next season or whenever, I still don't think he's good enough for us. Like, I just can't believe I got the signing so wrong in my eyes. Like, I thought he'd be the guy to sort of carry us in moments, help us in moments, bring some of his leadership qualities that he gained from the City dugout as well. But no, he was dreadful. Every time he sort of dribbled past, tried to play those through passes, like you said, always ended up in Ben White's feet or for a goal kick even. Touch was great as well. Should have obviously it's on the defense, but he should have at least helped them out and track back. But there was only one time we got past Ben White. But then even then, like, I don't know about you guys, but do you think he's lost his pace as well, Sterling? I don't know what it is, but I just think he's lost.
There was one time where he sprinted after a loose ball before the touchline and he got there, and I didn't think he would. And I'm like, see, you can still be quick. So that tells me otherwise you just can't be bothered because you can't actually run quick. You just choose not to, you twat. Do you know what I mean?
He's just a terrible footballer.
No, if I was called Miz, maybe I would. Nah, I'm joking. But let's not get back to that drama. But no, I don't, because I don't believe in doing that for our own players. But if I did believe in that, I most certainly would. Do you know what I mean? My days.
I think a big thing as well for Sterling was, I remember seeing a few quotes, I think in the summer. I can't remember if maybe Pies tweeted or someone else or a different account. But I think one of the main factors of Sterling coming to London was obviously his family living in London as well. So I think it was just a convenience for him to go back to London, basically. And he said he always missed
just eating
sort of
too
home
much
as
of
well.
his mum's jollof or something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. So I guess there's that as well. So he's obviously comfortable where he is in terms of being at the club and stuff. But on the pitch, man, he's been dreadful, man. And yeah, I have to agree with that 0 rating, to be honest. Like, you didn't have to ask me for it, bro. You just went straight in, which is fair play, man. Like,
to be honest,
I was going to give him a 0 anyway.
We know that they're all going to agree, but you know.
Did he get subbed off, by the way? I can't remember if he got subbed off. Did he?
He did for Mudryk in the end. Yeah.
Do you know
It took him way too
why
long,
you can't remember him getting subbed off? The reason you can't remember him getting subbed off because he did fuck all in the game. You might as well not have been playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so Ian, say your piece, bro. I assume you're going to agree on the rating, but what do you have to say on him?
I don't know if this is possible in streams. Can you give negative ratings?
No, but we might get out a little emoji.
Oh yeah, that'll do. Lovely. Take that. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on the matter. I can't believe they played for Chelsea Football Club. We got absolutely fleeced weeks ago. Can't even remember when it was. It was definitely before the end of last season that we should be all over Gabriel Jesus like an absolute rash. And now we're in a position where we got fleeced for the more expensive player who's older, who's on more a week, but because he has great numbers, then potentially he was a great signing for Chelsea. Gabriel Jesus was putting up great numbers for Man City, and he didn't even play half the games. And if he did play, he ended up playing right wing for some stupid position. Now you play him up front, and funny enough, he's quite good, and we still haven't got a centre forward. Of all the players that we have signed for Chelsea Football Club, Sterling is one of the ones that really confuses me the most. We've got 15 different players like him, and then we thought, oh, do you know what? We're just going to sign another.
Exactly. Like, obviously, I know we had Lukaku on the book still at the time, but
money on 300.
You got rid of Lukaku.
25 grand a week.
And you think Sterling's going to fix your issue?
ridiculous. But, that's the way the American ownership want to do it, with numbers based.
Yeah, unfortunately, your audio is a bit stop and go, kind of. I don't know what's happening with it.
Do you know what the best thing is as well? We've got Nkunku coming in. We've already got him properly, but I am not happy.
No. We can gather that, bro. We can gather. We don't hear everything you said, but we gather that you're not happy. So I appreciate that. Sometimes it works, then it doesn't work again. So we'll just keep trying. I'm sure it'll be okay for the next one. Pice, again, I'm very sure you're going to agree on the rating, but how would you speak on it?
I would just say that in 71 minutes, he had 24 total passes, completing 14. Oh my God. Atrocious, bro. Absolutely atrocious. Like, I've tried to defend Sterling more than most because I know how good he can be, but I don't know, man. He's just really pissing me off. And I just don't feel like Sterling is one of those players that will accept being a bench player. And I think that's a huge issue because that's the reason why he left Man City. But, maybe he will. Maybe he's just here for a payday. I think that's what I've concluded. He's here for a payday. He's on ridiculous wages. And personally, I'd try and sell him in the summer, to be honest with you, because he's not doing us any favours. And I know...
I'd rather keep Pulisic than him, I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For me personally, I think Pulisic is just more naturally talented.
Where was he? He wasn't even on the bench.
He wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even on the bench today. Yeah, well, guess we can talk about the subs later, but Sterling definitely zero. I know you can, maybe some people say, "Oh, you're too harsh." He's had Graham Potter and Lampard. It looked under Tuchel, he did all right, but I just see a player that's declining, and I don't know. He's just again like experience. I expect more from him. I expect him to drag us through some moments, or even if you don't get goals, at least pick up the ball and win fouls and just show little flashes, something to believe in. Games like today, and there's been plenty of them, it's just what is actually the point of having him on the pitch? You can't have that £300,000 a week. We need to cut a wage bill. Honestly, we should seriously be thinking about selling,
But who's gonna buy it? Because he's gonna want to be on those wages still.
I don't know. That's what I said. It is an issue because of how much money he's on.
I really would. I don't think so, because he was obviously the first signings of the new regime and everything. But I would really love to know if he's one of those players that gets a wage cut for not being in Europe.
No, I don't think he is.
I don't think so either, but it would be hugely
I think the Athletic said him, Havertz, Kepa, and someone else is safe. I think.
Havertz and Kepa. But Havertz and Kepa signed their deals long before the new regime turned up. So
yeah, no, but it was Sterling was included in that, I think, because of I don't know whether it's because of I don't know, there was something. I'm sure they said Sterling, Havertz, Kepa, and someone else.
Okay. Because that's the thing. All our January signings, none of them are on big wages anyway. Mudryk, Enzo, they're both on under 100k. Okay, so now they earn a little bit less. Well, that's not the flipping issue whether these guys earn 97k or 80k. That's not the problem here. Mr. Bowley, you shouldn't fucking rob those guys. Rob flipping Sterling. I mean, because Frank before the game, Felix needs to work hard. I need him as could Felix I have my issues with Felix as well, that he's not, decision making, the final third, clinicalness and stuff. But he couldn't have done any flipping worse than Sterling did. Now, obviously, it should have been Mudryk. But if you're, for some odd reason, deciding to not start Mudryk, surely you'd play Felix over Sterling still. Well, I would anyway.
Yeah, I found the. Okay, no. So Sterling would be one of those, according to Matt Law. Matt Law says some Chelsea players will have wage cuts up to 20%. Kepa, Havertz, Kovacic, Kante, Ziyech, Pulisic keep their full wage if they stay at the club. So Sterling may be cut, rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that would be good. That would make it some more smart business. But hey, let's get to one of the, one, I guess with Mudryk maybe another, but one of the only positives on the day. His first goal for the club, scored a goal for us, made us score a goal that wasn't even deflected, like Gallagher's. I mean, maybe it actually took a slight deflection, but it was very clearly his goal, while Gallagher's, I guess you could maybe argue about own goal. But yeah, Madueke, he did good. That one dribble where he just 4 Arsenal players tried to push him over, steal the ball off him. He just wasn't having any of it. Now, his pass at the end of that to Kante was unfortunately dreadful, but, it swings and roundabouts. He scored, great touch, good finish, smart finish, how he hit it into the ground to make it bounce was very good. happy with him. I'm going to give him a 6. Yeah, he had a bad few touches and a bad few passes around in our own defensive thirds with Azpi, with Kante. I get it, but the kid's 20, barely played for us so far. Certainly done more than all the other lot combined. And yeah, fair play to him. Thank you for scoring a goal. Made the scoreline look a little bit better because 3-1 looks a lot better than 3-0. So Madueke, appreciate it. Well done, you. And yeah, I'm going to say 6. Let's see what you boys think. Ian, I'll let you go first. Do you think my 6 is a bit too high, or do you think it's justified in the grand scheme of things with him scoring?
No, let him have a 6. What we were saying with Sterling, he showed flashes. He did show flashes of a player that could be there. And yeah, I think sometimes he looks a bit gangly. I think sometimes he looks very rash and inexperienced. But again, he's 20. That will come over time. But he needs coaching. You can see he needs proper coaching and someone that's going to make something out, and a manager that's going to make something out of him. So he's been very unfortunate this season, but we're trying to think positively. Give him a 6 for his goal. Let's give him a 6 because yes, he did take it well. Whether he meant it or not, that's probably a different question. But let's give it a 6.
Yeah, fair enough. He might not have meant it. I need to see it back, honestly. Now, I'm not sure. Like Pulisic's dad, Christian Pulisic's dad, is called Mark Pulisic, so I doubt it's the real one. But if it is, write me an email. We'll have some chatting to do. I mean, maybe your boy needs a new agent or something. Maybe we can sort something. But I'd be a fan of a couple of agent fees. I only take like 2%. I mean, I'm cheap.
You get him to sign for Wacker Innsbruck. You would. I know you would.
Yeah,
you need all the help you can get.
I would. Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Ian. We now have a partnership with LAFC. Would you know? See,
I did see that. Weirdly enough, I did.
Probably because I liked it on Instagram and Twitter, so it showed up to other people. But see, we're going up in the world. 4th division and only up.
4th division?
What a year I'm having with the clubs I support.
4th? God,
yeah. We went bankrupt and went from 2nd to 4th division.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. We're now playing like flipping villages in the county, not even in a country league anymore. So that's great. But yeah, we have fun. Do you know what I mean? Dams, Madueke, would you agree on a 6? Good goal in the grand scheme of things. I'm happy for him that he got that goal.
Yeah, I'd agree with both of you. Give him a 6. I thought overall in the game did pretty well. His take-ons were pretty good. Some of his dribbles, his final ball lacked a little bit. But as Craig had mentioned before, I think with proper coaching, especially if save the manager is Poch next season, I think you can really get the best out of Madueke. And it's just criminal how he hasn't started more games for us, to be honest. And I definitely want to see him on the starting 11. Every single game that we have left of the season, because he's fully earned that and deserved it. Obviously, the bar is really low, but like we can only go off what we've seen, to be honest. And yeah, I think best player on the pitch today for us, Madueke. So yeah, I agree with the 6.
Fair dues. Pies, you in agreement as well? Also in terms of the rating?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. I think we definitely would have gone a bit lower if he didn't get the goal. But
yeah.
He scored. It was a good run.
Very well timed run.
Yeah, the way Ian described him as gangler is actually a really good analogy, because I definitely think his dribbling is definitely unique. Sometimes I think he's a bit predictable as well with his left foot. I would like to see him maybe not use his right foot more, but just be I don't know, change angles, change the way he plays up a little bit and the way he dribbles, go the other way a bit more. But yeah, I guess you're always going to be on your stronger foot. And I just think left-footed players, left-footed wingers especially, Iron Robin did it for years and no one seemed to be able to stop him. So, hopefully, I'm not saying Madueke will end up that level, but hopefully, there's not a point where we have to go, okay, right, he's too predictable, because that can happen with left-footed wingers. So, yeah. But I don't know, he just deserves to play, man. Why not? Don't start Ziyech, don't start, fucking, I don't know, Gallagher, and instead of anyone really at the top end of the pitch, at least play Madueke, play the players that clearly want to perform for Chelsea. I don't know if you guys saw, but he put out an Instagram story where he was dancing and listening to music before the game. He was a few hours before the storm, sort of thing. You can tell he wants to play for Chelsea and wants to he cares. You know what I mean? So just play the players that they want to play. For
I'm not sure if it had much to do with Chelsea or just I get to play Premier League football, but if he works hard and tries his best, I don't care whether it's because it's for Chelsea or because.
But I think you can see in the last international break we had, where he did really well for the under-21s in England. Like, I watched his interview after, and he was like, he was asked about like his time so far, and like he didn't really want to go into detail on it, but he just kind of said like, I want to take my form back to my club. Like, that's the most important thing, is doing well for my club. And any player that wants to actually play for Chelsea right now should play, in my opinion. Like, honestly, yeah, I don't know. He's clearly got talent as well, and I think, we can utilize his pacing behind as well, like you saw today. So yeah, why not?
I don't think he's quite as quick as maybe some people think, but because but what I also think is that he's taller and stronger than people think. But yeah, I mean, this is good from Lampard, but I mean, 3 weeks too late. But hey, better late than never, I suppose. Let's finish it off with Aubameyang, and I'll start, and I'll give him a weird rating, which we've never seen on here before. I'll give him a 0+, because he clearly has to get a 0. He had 9 touches. 4 of those were from kickoff. So he clearly can't get any higher than a 0. But because he obviously never saw the ball, and because, I mean, the guy, Pies touched on it earlier, which I wasn't actually aware of. The last game against Arsenal was his last start. I didn't actually realize that. How crazy is that? So I'm not exactly shocked that he wasn't great. But he wasn't great. But because I want to let him off a little bit, and like in comparison to Sterling, I know in the end Sterling didn't get a 0, but I'm going to give him that little plus. But it's still not enough to even be a 0.5. You're still getting a 0. But yeah, what can I say? He doesn't try to win headers. His touch, when he once was played through, bad touch. Again, I understand Rusty never played, but then again, if you're not trained, shouldn't mean you can't control the ball. But it's what it is. I didn't expect any more from him. Maybe next time Havertz plays, then he will get a little bit less slander because they see what actually the other option is. But yeah, it's quite straightforward from my end. Pies, you went last on the last couple. Why did you go first on this one? You obviously don't have to do 0+, but I don't think anyone can give him higher than that, other than for if you say, okay, because he had such a lack of service, that's why we give him like a pity 0.5 or 1 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you didn't go to me like before you talked and just had to go off for a minute, because I didn't know what to say, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah.
What can you say? Like, I do agree with you in terms of like the headers and stuff. Like, I don't really think he made an effort in terms of them, but like everything else, it's just like he clearly wasn't match sharp. He clearly wasn't, match fit to actually start. Which is, to be fair, probably something I didn't take into consideration quite a lot, because I've been saying, I want him to start, but yeah, I think today showed he's clearly not fit enough to start at the moment. Yeah, he was just I don't know, just alienated up there. I think that the time he did play, we was 2 goals down, and then it was just really shit from there, really. And all the play we did go forward was obviously mostly Sterling during that first half. There was one run I think Aubameyang made, and Sterling just overhit the pass massively, went out for a goal kick, and I was like, yeah, for fuck's sake, like, what's the point? So yeah, I don't know what ratings. I mean, if we want to go with that, fair enough. But I wouldn't start him next game. I'd probably bring him off the bench, because he just didn't look match sharp at all, to be honest with you.
No, he didn't. And now, if he plays a few more games from now until the end of the season, sure, he would look better, but why would we play him more games? Like, I guess in theory, we're still having to make sure we avoid relegation, but let's be honest, we're going to lose every game, and we just have to hope that the other teams don't score enough points. I don't think they will score enough points, so I think we'll be fine, but not because we will make sure of it. It's because the others won't get enough points. But I am quite entertained by some of these, messages here in the chat. Oba piss poor young. That's quite funny. Oba blood clot. That's quite funny. I like that one as well. Havertz is stronger, which is crazy. No, that's not crazy. That's very obvious. And if people didn't have agendas, everyone would know that. Dams, Aubameyang. Whether you say 0 or 0+, whatever you want to do. But what did you make of Aubameyang? The guy had 9 touches. He tried to rival Lukaku at Palace. But Lukaku at Palace played 90 minutes. And Aubameyang only got 45. So, but Palace didn't score 3 goals. So Lukaku didn't get 4 touches from kickoff either.
Yeah, Lukaku didn't fucking move from the centre spot, bro. Like in the middle of the pitch, like he was just fucking standing there that game. Yeah. Does everyone
and
remember
he was probably still more dangerous than Aubameyang was today.
Everyone remember that. However, we was just boom balls up long as he was just standing there, like fucking move. Like I'm pretty sure if you go back to that stream, that might be funny to look at. Everyone was just shouting move when we get to the play room.
Do you know what's funny, Pice? I'd actually forgotten that, and now I've got something else to be more annoyed about. So thanks for that.
He's coming back next season, bro. Where the fuck are we going to ship him to? Like, he scored a good goal. Like, he got 2 assists.
The only hope I have is that because he's turned up a little bit for Inter the last few weeks.
Yeah, we better pray like he just refuses to play for us or something.
Yeah.
Send him Spurs.
Maybe he wins into the Champions
League.
League, so that would be quite good.
To be fair, he probably did better than our players at the moment,
and they would definitely sign him if he does. So but yeah. Before I get to Ian, Dams, what you got to say about Aubameyang?
Oba with the 0+. I think there's obviously context with it and stuff. He wasn't really helped out much from the midfield and from the wingers. To be honest, he literally got no service. It was predictable. Every single time the ball would just loft up into the air, expecting him to win duels. He's not that kind of player. He's a penalty box striker, to be honest. And Gabriel and Kivior dealt with him really easy, to be honest. Like, they didn't have to sort of break a sweat against Aubameyang. So, yeah, I mean, like, the signing initially, like, it was obviously made for Thomas Tuchel initially because he's the one who wanted him. And obviously, so much has happened since then. We just know he's not going to be here next season. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We just have to base it off this game. But, yeah, probably give him a 0+.
Fair. Ian, do you want to play along with our 0+ as well, or what would you say?
Yeah, I'm going to play along with the 0+, and I would give him a 0.5. You know, I thought, yes, he didn't have the service and whatever. You can go round and round about it, but another big thing as well, and I said to it with Enzo, it's not directly only Enzo, but there's other players as well. I will go with a 0+ because he also didn't make the movement that was needed to get on the ball.
Yeah.
It's all well and good saying, there was no service, but there were so many times he was basically just marking himself. He went and stood right next to 2 centre halves that he wasn't going to win the ball off. So maybe could you drop a bit deeper? Could you change the angle, that little bit? That's the sort of thing I would want to see from a centre forward, even one that hasn't played. I feel that's a basic for me.
Yeah.
I used to play.
By the way, at 0, he was in 1 ground duel and 1 aerial duel. And now think how many times we hit the ball long, and that's what I'm talking about. With that, he doesn't even try to win headers, and that's just I cannot accept that, honestly.
I would give him a 0.5. I would, but because again, the fact that he hasn't made the effort as well, I'll go with a 0+. I used to play up front. For me, that is an absolute basic. That is an absolute basic. Is you need to get on the ball. If you're a match winner, which he claims that he is, and he scores goals, which again, he was the reason he was at Arsenal for all those years, reason he was at Dortmund, reason he was at AC Milan, the reason that Barcelona signed him, the reason that we signed him is to try and score goals. You've got to make an effort, mate, to try and get yourself involved. Might not be to score the goal itself, but at least appreciate that there's other members of this team that need your support in trying to get the ball to you in the first place, even if it isn't right in front of goal. So I would say it's a 0+.
There you go. No, well said. Let's do the subs then. Havertz was obviously the first one, came on at halftime. It was better than Aubameyang, but it wasn't exactly amazing. I mean, look at it. Havertz played her second half, and he had 5 aerial duels, of which he won 4. Aubameyang had 1 and 1-0. Ground duels, they're both equally as shit. Both had 1 and won none of them. So that's great. But yeah, I don't know. What will I give Kai? I mean, he had that shot at the end, which was an easy save for Ramsdale, but at least he put some power on it, so that was quite good, I guess. I don't know. Do I give him like a 3? Is that too low? Is it too high? I don't really know. I mean, Ian, what would you give Kai for his second half?
I'd say a 3 or a 4. It's really frustrating, sort of like with Azpilicueta. You don't want to slander him or anything, but you can see there is a good footballer in there. And I just think that he has been one of these players that's been so shafted by everything else that's gone on. The fact he's playing up front, the fact that he, when we signed him, I said it before on a stream with you a couple of weeks ago, Loz, that when we signed him, no one was talking about him as being a centre forward. There was people saying he can play in centre midfield, centre attacking midfield, or he can play on the right-hand side if needed. But no one's ever spoken about him as playing as a centre forward. And I think that he came into the game and we were better. He held the ball up, which is something that Aubameyang didn't do. Again, that's one of the basics. It's one of the fundamentals. But one thing I will say, and it's not anything massive, but the shot that he had at the end, there was some venom in it. There was something that actually resembled a a sort of a centre forward like character from Kai Havertz. I think that venom in that strike was him showing how frustrated he is as well. And I do really want to root for the guy. One thing I will say, and I'll ask a question very quickly to you lot, is we obviously said about Aubameyang starting, but Kai Havertz was injured in the last game, didn't play, and Frank said he'll be ready for Arsenal. Do you think that Aubameyang played purely for the reason that Kai Havertz wasn't fully ready to go? Or do you think that it was just a case of he thought that Lampard generally thought that Aubameyang would work against Arsenal? It's just a genuine question. I want to know what you all think.
It's probably a bit of both, I reckon.
You think it was purely just because it was Arsenal? Because I thought when he came off the bench, Havertz, I thought he looked better than anything Aubameyang did. But again, Aubameyang was dog. So I don't know. I'd go.
I'm not sure if it was to do with Arsenal. I think it was more on the basis of the second half against Brentford, which again, that first half wasn't Havertz. That first half was Sterling. So yes, Aubameyang was better, but that's because the other person was Sterling.
Exactly.
That was playing striker, which again, I don't even want to. I mean, I've criticized Sterling plenty today. When Sterling has to play striker, I don't even want to blame him because why is he having to do that? That is the first issue in and of itself. But I don't know. It might be a mix of both, that Havertz wasn't fully fit to play at least more than 45, 60. So he thought might as well try Aubameyang after he played already about a half last time, I guess. But I don't really know. Damesh, 3 for Havertz. Would you go along with that? Would you go a little higher than that? I mean, Ian, to be fair, you said between 3 and 4. So do I take that as a 3.5?
Yeah, take it as 3.5. Yeah, go on then.
Fair enough. Dams, what do I do there?
Yeah, I'll probably have to agree between 3 and 4, to be honest. 3.5. I thought I've always thought Havertz has always been a better player off the bench. I don't know about you guys, but he seems like more of like a sort of like an impact sub in a way for me. Just based on what I've sort of seen and what I think really in terms of Havertz coming off the bench. I thought his hold-up play was a little bit better than Aubameyang. See, like Craig mentioned about before, what you want from the strikers dropping in deep at times. He did that against Gabriel and Kivior. Had a good few passes here and there out wide and stuff. Was getting some attacks going as well. But yeah, I mean, we know sort of the story with Havertz is it's frustrating. Like when he starts, he's shit, but off the bench, there's you can see something there. And that head at the end as well, or was it the shot? I can't remember. I think he had a header from across from Chilwell. I think when it was 3-1. Maybe could have done better with that. I think. But
did he get on the end of it? I wasn't sure if it actually was.
I think it hit his shoulder. I think it hit his shoulder. But yeah, man, we know what Kai Havertz can and can't do, to be honest. And yeah, with regards to Craig's question, I think it's more the fact it's Arsenal. I think because of that sort of like the rivalry and also the fact that he used to play for Arsenal as well. I think that's a factor. But then again, it could be the injury thing with Havertz as well, because obviously he didn't play last game as well, was only fit for 45. So I see both sides to it, to be honest.
My question was basically alluding to: are we assuming that Kai Havertz starts on Saturday? Do we think he's?
I think he starts.
I assume so.
I think he starts. On Saturday. Yeah,
especially after how today's game had gone. Do you know what I mean?
It's just if he was physically ready. Do we think?
All right, Pice, thank you. I will bring that up in a second. But yeah, Pice, Havertz, 3.5. Maybe I'll push mine up to 3.5 as well. Might as well 3.5, 4. Doesn't really matter. It's difficult to really judge what I thought he did because he was a lot better than Aubameyang. But how that translates into rating between a 3 and a 6 or a 3 and a 5, I don't know. So what about you?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what you guys were saying, like, so bad. I was going to give him a 6, to be honest with you. I thought he was just average. I thought he worked quite hard. I don't know. I thought he actually gave a shit from what I was seeing. I think he was making some runs. I thought he did okay. For me, personally, it would be a 6. Obviously, it's not going to end up on that, but I do agree with
you make a reasonable point as well. I just feel like, I don't know, if he started and played the way he did and didn't just come on instead of a dreadful Aubameyang, we wouldn't judge that as a 6. So I see where you're coming from, 1,000,000%. So but I was just trying to not be too nice, almost, especially because a lot of people always claim I have this agenda for Havertz. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people say that I do, and I've given him a highest rating. So
exactly.
I don't know, maybe we see different things, but I was going to say I do agree with Damesh. The problem is we have too many players that are better off the bloody bench. And if Havertz had started, I probably would have given him a low rating. But as we're judging purely off how he came off the bench, I would probably give him a 6.
All right. Will I raise my rate? You know what? I'll give him a 4. All right. So we have a 3.5, 3.5, a 4, a 6. Obviously, the boys might raise theirs, but with your 6, bloody hell. So I guess 4.5.
I'd go a 4. I'd go a 4.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
you know what?
Why not?
Let's get the calculator. Damesh, do you want to give him a 4 as well, or stick to your 3.5?
Why not? You boys have convinced me.
All right. So I'll say, you know what? I'll give him a 5 now. So okay, 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 divided by 4 is 4.75, which we round up to a 5. So Kai, you somehow stole yourself a 5, yeah? Kai, well done.
That's fine.
Very good. All right. I need to bring up a tweet. We're going to talk about Mudryk now, but I want to bring up a little stat that Pies tweeted just as the game finished. And this again, why is he not starting? Mudryk created more chances, 3, than any Chelsea or Arsenal player. Now, this is obviously partly because Arsenal have more than one capable player. So they spread those, responsibilities out a little bit. But still, Mudryk created more chances than any Chelsea or Arsenal player, and he only played 19 minutes. Frank, if you ever don't start him again, well, nothing. But I will be fuming again. Do you know what I mean? It just pisses me off. But I'm not going to give him more than like Madueke, but I will also give him a 6. Maybe it's a bit nice, but because he only got 19 minutes, I think for those 19 minutes, I think a 6 is about justified. Damesh, I'll let you go first on this one. Do you think that's okay? Would you even, with obviously the star rating because of only playing, well, obviously Havertz was a sub as well, but because he played one half, just like Aubameyang, he gets a normal rating. But with a star, do you think a 6 is fair, or would you go higher, maybe lower, Damesh?
I'll probably go for a 5.5 to be honest, just purely based on the minutes. I think on the pitch as well, I thought against Ben White, he skinned Ben White, man. I don't know if you guys saw, but that sort of drag back he did and then cross into the box. Like, Ben White's probably been the best sort of right back this season, in my opinion. And like, if Mudryk is doing him, like, it's just clear to see that there's a talent in there. And with more coaching as well, like similar to Madueke, I think he could be a real superstar for us in the future. Exactly. And a lot of people writing Mudryk and Madueke off, like, as signings, like, not just our fans, but rival fans as well. But these guys haven't played at all. Like, how can you judge someone who hasn't played? Like, fair enough with, you got players like Sterling, Havertz, Pulisic to an extent, I guess, and Ziyech. Like, you just know that they're not it for Chelsea. But writing off Mudryk and Madueke already is just criminal to me. Like, we've seen as well what he did at Anfield as well. I know obviously it was against James Milner mostly, but going to Anfield and almost being the best player on the pitch on that day, and then dragging that form over to this game as well. Like, yeah, we need to see more of Mudryk, man. He's so dangerous. Like, even his pace is so explosive, man. Like, the trickery as well. He can even the set piece, I think, was pretty decent as well.
Even to take up best corners. Even that, just that on its own is a reason to start him.
Exactly, yeah. Ben Chilwell's corners have gone a bit off lately, but yeah, I'll probably agree with. I'll probably go with the 5.5 just based on it was only 19 minutes to be honest. But yeah, has to start against Bournemouth. Has to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. By the way, the fact that Arsenal nearly won the league with Ben White at right back is an absolute disgrace and shows everyone other than Man City is an absolute joke in this league. Because with Ben White at right back, the fact that you're even getting anywhere near a Premier League is disgraceful. Pice, Mudryk, a 6 for my end, a 5.5 from Damesh. What would you give him?
Probably the same. I wanted to go 6.5, but I think with 19 minutes, I don't know if I can. But I mean, he did create more chances than any other player on the pitch, which was pretty impressive in 19 minutes. I think he was very good, to be honest with you. I think if you watch Mudryk and think he's going to be a flop, then I don't really know what you're watching, to be honest. Like, there's definitely raw talent there, and he's showing more confidence now. I think in terms of like taking players on, just running at players. I saw that against Brighton as well at home. I was there. I thought he was good that game, and I think he'll get better. But what's the sticking point is that he's not starting. He needs to start. Start him against Bournemouth. Start him against whoever the hell we've got after that, and just keep starting him. He's a young player. I know he's got to adapt to the Premier League, but Sterling's worse. If you want to play Pulisic for a game at left wing, play Pulisic, but don't play Sterling there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just sort it out, Lampard. Like, it's just so annoying, man. Like, yeah, let's stick with the 6, but I think, really positive signs, and there's clearly a really good player in there. And, by the way, can I just say, I think it was an absolute disgrace how Arsenal fans, first off, booing him, and then also laser pen in his face.
Oh, yeah, what was all that about?
Yeah, because you guys wouldn't pay up the money. Like, it's ridiculous.
You know what I will say? As much as I agree it's a disgrace, I'm quite impressed to educate, because for a penalty, right, the player stood still. But to get a laser pointer into a footballer's eye from the stand while he's running, it's quite impressive to achieve, to be honest.
It actually is, man.
He was cooking them while he had a laser pen shining at him. Like,
are we sure? Are we sure it wasn't like some Russian sniper or something? Maybe I shouldn't joke about this, but yeah, it was clearly a joke. But yeah, Ian, finish it off for us with Mudryk. I know you need to head off after that; it's late, but just Mudryk quickly. Would you agree with the 6? And obviously, what do you have to say about him? And I mean, we spoke about him a couple of weeks ago when you were last on, but what do you make of just Frank not? Like, why wouldn't you start him? Surely, like, if we were in a situation where we were like fighting for top 4 or, fighting for something serious, and you're like, okay, a guy that hasn't actually had that much professional football experience, because in Ukraine, yes, he played, but in terms of number of professional games, Madueke actually has more. I would maybe understand, but there's nothing left to play for. So surely this is exactly when you should play him all the time, no?
See, the one thing I worry about with that question is I see the same thing with Badiashile. He's clearly a good centre-half and someone that we should be building, or looking to build a team around. I think he's a top-quality player. I wonder if there's been anything, and it does happen in American sports, unfortunately, and maybe it's an ownership thing, but there's like a real pressure of don't get him injured. Just don't risk him, because you know that he's going to be a part of the team for years to come. But similar to Werner, when we had him, you can see there's a player in there. You can see he knows what he's doing. You can see how he could be
similar to Werner.
Yeah, but you can see Werner. You look at Werner now; he's still scoring goals. You might find it's not a Chelsea football club, and yeah, it was a little bit of gutting and everything. But
I feel like you've just made Mudryk sound like the worst player in the world by saying he's like.
Oh no! But again, I always liked Werner. I always felt that he gave a shit, and he was a reasonable player for us. He made opponents think about where he was. Dragged the pitch out wide. Was always going to be able to knock it in behind potentially. And I look at Mudryk and think, he's a better technical footballer than Werner is, and he has the same things that he can offer in terms of, going forward and stretching the defence out. I think for me, again,
he makes Werner actually look slow, which is crazy.
Yeah, that generally that's truth. That is. But the way that we play at the moment, especially with Arsenal, again, they were always going to come at you early doors because they want to try and prove a point. They want to get back to winning ways. They hadn't won a game in 4, before coming into this game. But you look at Mudryk and think, he totally could have not run riot today. Let's not go mentally, but he could cause Arsenal so many problems. And as bad as it sounds, and I know we shouldn't really think about this, but when Gabriel had the hammy and it was like, oh, is he going to stay on? Is he not? I don't know. Put Mudryk on and get him to just fucking run at him. Make your own luck. Do something that's different. And
literally,
I know
get the ball. Every time we get the ball, Mudryk starts to run, and Enzo just plays every time. It might not work, but 1 out of 7 or 10 will come on.
Laurenz, that what you guys have just explained there is a much better tactic than your whole tactic being Aubameyang's motivation on the return to Arsenal.
Exactly.
At least that's an actual sort of method.
There's an idea to that. Yeah, no, exactly.
But it was very similar to the Real Madrid game. We always knew the pressure was going to the pressure was going to be on us from the word go. They were always going to dominate the ball. Everything was always going to be in their favour. They are the top dogs, Arsenal and Real Madrid in this particular game and the games that we had against them. You've got to be able to do something different. And Mudryk offers it more than any other player that we have got in our squad right now. Mudryk, with his electrifying pace, you need to be able to utilise it often. And we utilised it against, I want to say it was Villa. And then he had the shocker that he hit straight at the goalkeeper. I think it was Villa.
I think it
was Villa, yeah.
Yeah, I think
it was Everton,
Villa.
maybe?
Either one of the two. The games all get bloody confused in my head now because we're just crap. But, again, it was different. It didn't work on that day, but try and build the confidence. Try and build it. He hasn't scored a goal for Chelsea yet. and he needs to play him every week.
Like, we need to make sure he gets a goal before the season's done, by the way. So
exactly, he needs to. He 100% needs to. Even Jorginho's got a goal for Arsenal, shot from outside the box, which we all know.
Jorginho is still third highest goal scorer at Chelsea this season, by the way.
But don't get me started about that. That's a whole different thing. But again, the fact that Jorginho has come in, scored a goal from outside the box for Arsenal. Yeah, okay, it's talking differently because Arsenal are top. Well, they were top.
Does it even count as his goal though? Wasn't it an own goal officially? I think.
I can't remember. But either way,
bar didn't he? Then it went under the back of Martinez.
Oh, so we didn't score. That's the more the Jorginho I know. But the thing is, you've got to try and get your best players on the pitch to try and build for whatever is coming next. So I don't know if it's a Lampard thing. I don't know if it's a Bowley thing, saying you can't play this player, that player, because we want to save them. But whatever it is, for me, Badiashile, Madueke, as much as I think he's still got a lot of room to grow, but definitely Mudryk need to be starting from now until the end of the season.
I mean, the only thing with Badiashile, obviously, get back four, you have Thiago Silva, you have Fofana.
Playing more football and
that's at least somewhat fair enough, right? But when you see what Sterling's doing, you're like, how on earth are you not playing Mudryk, right?
I agree. I do agree. And I think if we had a back three, then Badiashile should be starting every time. But unfortunately, I don't know whether that would be the case. I don't know who's putting the pressure on or not. But all I know in terms of this particular situation, because I have to go because my phone is on 1% and I have a hospital appointment tomorrow morning. But Mudryk needs to play for Chelsea Football Club. He is not going to get better if he just sits on the bench and gets 19 minutes every other week.
Now his phone ran out of charge. He turned into Darth Vader first, and then his phone ran out of charge.
He's doing well up until then, man.
Bro, was that my... Bro, I thought I was like lagging or something. Was that
No. He said phone's only got 1%, and then Darth Vader. That was funny. But yeah, there you go. All right, we're done with Rudy. I think he agreed with the 6. Still Gallagher quickly, I guess. Obviously, once Gallagher came on, Kovacic played the sole 6.
Bro turned into a robot then. What the fuck?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I just give Gallagher a 5. I don't think it was awful, but I don't think it was great. So just get through these. Dams, would you agree on a 5? Would you go lower? I don't think it.
Generally can't remember anything he did apart from get his standard yellow card that he does every game.
You know what? Actually, it's a good point. Give him a 4.
Yes, I've convinced him. Yes, I'll probably agree with the 4. I literally don't remember anything he did apart from that. Apart from that yellow card.
His pass accuracy was good, 91%, but that's 10 out of 11. So
yeah, literally did nothing.
But he still had more touches than Aubameyang. Now, of course, he played in midfield, but still. There you go. Pice, you agree on a 4 as well? Would you go for a 5? What would you say for Gallagher?
I'd go 5.5 just because of the yellow. Other than that, I thought we'd give him an average 6.
Okay.
So 5.5.
No, you know what? Fair enough. Give him a 4.5 then overall. Ziyech, I don't think he played enough to get a rating. Not really anything to do with him. I just don't understand why he is chosen to play. Don't get it, but
he had a shot over the bar. That's about it. He's costing a shot.
I wasn't looking. I only heard the commentator say, "Oh, that's what Ziyech's known for, shooting from these angles." I'm like, okay, fair enough. But there you go. And Chalobah obviously gets an NA as well. Finish it off, and I want to quickly highlight a comment here from Texas. Where is he? There you go. Kind of having a go at streams like these that go so long and refuse to acknowledge the main source of these problems. Owners is tragic. Now, firstly, I kind of get where you're coming from. Secondly, though. Let's be a bit serious here. Now, number one, we've spoken about the owners and what they've done wrong countless of times, mostly in previews, but that's when you speak about non-game things. Now we're speaking in hindsight of a game. No matter what Bowley, Egbali, any of the owners did, no matter how many issues we've taken over from the old regime, that has nothing to do with Frank Lampard choosing to start Sterling over Mudryk. Like, that has nothing to do with anything Bowley does. Like, yes, he's still bad. And yes, he would have still lost even if Mudryk started instead of Sterling, probably. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about today's game of football. And today's game of football, yes, has certain reasons why we're struggling that have to do with Bowley. But the individual specific game of football is not purely to blame on the owners. Now, the whole Lampard thing, the fact that he's here, the fact that he's still here, sure. But we'll get something up on screen now before we talk about Lampard's rating itself, which is some news from Sammy Mokbel on the Pochettino situation, but also Frank Lampard situation. It says all the indications are that Frank Lampard will see out the season. Chelsea want to show Lampard the respect that this legacy deserves, which in a way I kind of like to some extent, because I want these new owners to show that they understand some of the things that we're about. They clearly don't some, so I want them to learn and appreciate some things. And do I think it would be much benefit if you sack Lampard now and make, him be embarrassed, us be embarrassed? Does that solve anything? I don't think we're getting relegated. I don't think we're winning many games, even if Poch comes in. But obviously the piece of info goes on to say, but there are some at Stamford Bridge who believe that the team would benefit from Pochettino taking over before the season ends, because it would give him a running start to his first full season at the helm. And I agree with that too. And this is my problem. This is why I wasn't so sold on Lampard, because when you have Lampard, when you have a legend, that's when what's the one I'm looking for? Sentimentality comes into it. And sentiment is the last thing you want in a situation like we are in. We don't want to be in a situation where we make decisions based on sentiment. We want to make decisions based on what's necessary. And frankly, if Poch was willing to take over right now, it would be better. Now, would it be better necessarily that we win so many more games? But I don't think it would cause much drama for Poch. Poch could immediately clear all the players that he doesn't want next season. Don't use them anymore, put them in a separate training. He's in a position to do that. Lampard is only here until the end of the season. Lampard isn't really in a position where that's a benefit to him or that's any use for him. Poch could do that. So that would instantly solve the squad size issue if Poch did that. But also, the players, how we talk about not caring or trying hard enough. If the manager for next season was here, that would instantly change, because then they would instantly be fighting for a spot next season, those that want to stay. And if, Poch tells them, well, I want you to stay, then, unless they still want to leave, even if Poch wants them to stay, then you would already have the care, the effort would come back tenfold, in my opinion. But, Pice, what do you think of that? I know you said it a couple of weeks ago, where you said you don't think it would be good at this point, but do you not agree that the players would try harder if they know the actual manager is here now?
I've always been of the opinion that Pochettino should start in the summer. I think just personally, if he comes in now, I think if he loses, 2 games on the spin, no one's going to be talking about a project. They're all going to be one Pochettino out already. So,
yeah, but do you actually think that? Because I think we were so bad now that I don't think anyone would actually think that anymore now.
I don't know.
Because it's gone so bad. No one would be shocked if we lose some more games.
I don't know. You know what these people are like? People say, "Oh, we can't even get a new manager bounce or whatever." And this, I just want him to start fresh in the summer. I want him to be in the stands though. Like, we need to agree the fucking deal and get him in the stands, and then just make it known that he's coming in the summer. Because right now the players still don't know who they're playing for. You know what I mean? Because it's just ridiculous. That can't be helping things for the players' side of things as well. Not knowing who is coming in next season. It's all good having rumours, but you need something confirmed. You need to know that he's watching you, like Nottingham Forest when we play them, I think it's next week. He needs to be there at Stamford Bridge. The players need to know that. And if they give any kind of a shit, you may see some of them start playing a little bit better than the ones that are playing trash right now. I think that'll be the big indication to see who actually wants to stay and wants to be a part of our future. Because right now, it just looks like no one's playing for anything. And I think that's the big problem is, obviously I thought they'd play for Lampard, but Lampard's a terrible manager. But I knew that already, but I thought they'd at least show some, fight, I guess, go out, swinging even if you lose. But all of these games, 6 losses in a row, bro. It's like, has there ever been a 007 manager, bro? Like, Lampard's going to be the first to do that. And these players are a big...
what's his face? Frank Lampard was, but otherwise...
Yeah, these players, as much as Lampard is terrible, are going to be a reason why he does do that. So, yeah, we need to get something against Bournemouth, please.
Yeah, there you go. Dums, just quickly before we do Lampard's rating, which probably will be done quite quickly, actually. Do you think it would be better to bring Poch in now? Or do you agree with Pice that that's not ideal, but still have him in the stands type thing and announce so everyone still knows who the next manager is going to be and that he's watching?
Yeah, I completely agree with the sort of uncertainty factor that Pice mentioned about with the players' sort of motivation, and they're not really knowing who they're playing for, what's happening. So yeah, obviously bringing in Poch for this season, after Poch got sacked, ideally would have been good for us because then at least he can sort of identify what players he wants to keep and he wants to get rid of at the same time. And at least we can see some sort of style of play. It's a bit like a trailer of a movie. Like you want to see a bit of what Poch can offer for the last sort of 10 to 15 games, but then for the next season, you want to see the actual movie of what Poch can deliver with, obviously with the tools that he would be given by Bowley and co. So yeah, I think there's two sides to it, to be honest. But yeah, we just need to announce Poch as soon as possible, to be honest. Whether that's this week, I don't know if it'll happen this week or next week or just whenever.
Better flipping happen this week. I mean,
exactly. I've always given a time frame of like to just get done regardless before the end of the season. Don't wait until the season's over. Then wait for a little bit and then yeah.
No, exactly. I agree. But just quickly on Lampard today, can you give him anything higher than a 0? Now, arguably, it wasn't as bad as like the Brighton game, for example, or maybe even Brentford, but it was still not enough to give him higher than a 0 for me. Like the choices of lineup, when he made subs to bring on Gallagher for Enzo, why? I mean, I get Kova got the assist, I guess, but still, just let Enzo finally play where he's actually good at. But yeah, 0 for my end. Dums, would you agree there?
Yeah, 100% 0 for Lampard. I don't know if we've ever given a rating of Lampard higher than 0 like since he's been there, but yeah, just tactics, everything, team selection, just on like obviously the lineup was.
It's just vibes, and it's not even good vibes. Do you know what I mean? Just
exactly.
Depressing.
It's just the same shit that we've been repeating ourselves for the past like sort of
since he's turned up.
Since he's turned up, and obviously since he's been here at Chelsea.
The only minor exception was the second leg against Madrid, where there was a bit of fight, but we had such a mountain to climb that it didn't really matter. So, and all the other games, I genuinely think that as in terms of whole games, okay, today's second half was a bit better, I guess, but in terms of whole games, I don't think a single game under Potter was as bad as all Premier League games under Lampard. I say that. So.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. And next two games are crucial for us. I put in our chat, Forest at home and Bournemouth away, then Forest at home is our next two games.
I mean, Forest at home is the only game where I give us a chance to even get a point.
Exactly, yeah. And
we're not winning that either, but we might get a point.
I know. We keep saying like
Lingard will score like his second or something Premier League goal against. He probably score a hat trick.
Maybe, yeah, but I think it's one of those as well.
I mean, hey, if Frank starts Mudryk,
yeah, exactly. And I think the next two games are just like. I know we keep saying every game is important for us, but these next two
no, bro. Like, no game's important for us.
As in to get to 40 points, bro. Like the 40 points Vendetta needs to stay, man. Like,
see, but 40 points doesn't really make us much more safe than 39 does. I just want to clarify that. But
that's true. That is very true, to be honest. But yeah, like on paper, Bournemouth and Forest like, have to score some goals, have to win the game, man. Like,
I mean, we won't, but I agree.
I know. It's just the hope, man. It's just the hope.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Pice, I assume you're going to agree on the 0, but anything else to add, mate?
I think the thing that most annoyed me today was, first off, bringing only one sub on at half time.
Yeah. What
the fuck? And then his subs, like, I don't know, it's just really pissing me off that he keeps benching Badiashile, man. Like, why is he bringing Chalobah over him? Like, can someone please, I'm going to try and get someone to ask a bloody question on him at the press conference because it's really pissing me off. What has Badiashile done to you? Like, horrible guy, man, honestly. Like, Badiashile has been so good for us.
But who would you drop, though? Like, in this, if you choose to play a back four, who would you drop?
I don't know. Silva, probably.
Yeah, but good luck with that then. But
I don't think. Obviously, I love Silva. I don't mean like if we actually. This is obviously the thing as well because we don't play this every game. Like we don't really know what it's going to get. But like in a 4, like if we did play this constantly, like at least have him start, a game or so. Like at least like where is he? Like I don't know, man. Like it's just so embarrassing.
And Chukwuemeka as well. Like where is he as well?
Yeah. But Badiashile more because he's actually done really well for us and he's actually played consistently before.
But because he's been given a chance. If Chukwuemeka was given the games that Shield was on the Potter, might be the same.
I just think it's weird how Lampard's come in and we've not seen the guy that's probably been our best defender. Like, how does that make any sense? And we've conceded 12 goals in 6 games. Like, it's just dumb. I don't get it. Where is he?
No one knows, mate. No one knows, mate. But one last thing that I want to get up on screen, and this has been a very long stream anyway, but I mean, it can be debated whether this is good or bad news, but Fabrizio earlier in the day tweeted, understand all documents are signed for Kennedy Paez Chelsea deal, 2007. That made me feel very old. Born midfielder will join Chelsea in 2025. Long-term contract signed, waiting on club statement, fee close to 20 million euros to Independiente del Valle. But main part is in add-ons. Here we go. Confirmed. Well, he's 15. So slightly noncy also, Mr. Bowley. But if he's amazing, great. But I still don't understand why we're wasting time on things like this at the moment, because don't we have much more serious issues to sort out? And I'm sure in 2 years' time, there will be some other South American talent which will be similarly as good as him at 15. So, but yeah, hey, if he turns out in 4 or 5 years and we say what an absolute superstar we signed here, I will obviously change my tone completely. But right now, I'm like, really, is this what we need to focus on? But hey, as Chelsea do, a defeat, we get a signing. That's what we did in January. We're going to do it again now. So here we are. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we wrap this one up. I'm not sure quite how we ended up going this long anyway. Bit nonsense. It's true, though. It's true. But yeah, I'm not quite sure how we ended up this long for games that none of us really care anymore, do we? But hey, it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. On the road to 20,000 subscribers. Hit the like button as well. If you haven't done so, it really helps me spread these streams out to more people. It's just one click of a button and it really do me a favor. So please do. That'd be great. Please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com, and his Twitter. Links are down in the description. Check out Damesh's Twitter, as you can see on screen. I'm not even going to try to say your Twitter handle. Just follow him on Twitter. All right?
I'm almost at 50 followers, everyone. Get me to 50 followers.
Exactly.
Come
Big up the 50
I made
followers.
of Damesh, bro. Damesh is better than our attackers. Go to his Twitter and check out the comp I made of him in 5-a-side.
Exactly.
Right?
Shout out Pice for that as well.
Yeah, he's much better than Aubameyang. That's for damn sure. But yeah, also big shout out to Ian, of course, and check out his YouTube channel. He's linked down in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. As I always say this season, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.